Hey guys, about to get into the interview that I had with Tavis Buck. Now, in the interview, I was going to call it a conversation with a with American shooter or something like that. But look, this is more of a click clack chit-chat, and you'll see as we formulate some of these formats, the conversation with. I'm going to try and make them more of a technical interview where we might go down a bit of a rabbit hole with a specific format. Whatever that is, we'll go specifically down that. Whereas this is more just general chit chat. And in this interview, we go down a few different rabbit holes, but we talk about a little bit about reloading. We talk a little bit about guns, and what we delve into quite a bit is what is the American gun culture, and what does that mean, shooter to shooter, like one shooter talking to another shooter from the States. What is the American gun culture? I've always wanted to know, and so that's what this conversation heads down. And I had a lot of assumptions, and a lot of it was wrong. And it was just a good time and exciting to chat to Tavis about these sorts of things. So without further ado, let's get stuck into it. So guys, I'm going to be doing more of these long format interviews, and so I know a lot of you guys are watching this on YouTube, and so I'm just going to give you a quick little tip. I know it can be a bit intimidating when you see some of these longer videos, think, oh, I can't sit here and watch this for an hour and a half or 2.5 hours or 2 hours or whatever it is. There is an option in there you can click watch later, so you can watch it, then click watch later, pause it, and then you can come back to your watch later playlist and you can play on from where you've left off. So that's a fantastic option. I do it for a lot of the videos that I watch. I always add it to my watch later, and I'll just go through in 10-minute increments. Alternatively, what you can do is I have uploaded it to iTunes and the likes. So you can download an app on your iPhone or your Android, something like I think I use Podcatcher or Pocket Cast or something like that. There's lots of different pod apps there. You can download it, and then you can just look for Hunt Shoot Off Road, and you can do that. And the thing about using the likes of those sorts of tools where you can podcast it, they're great for your long drives. I love nothing but when I'm smashing out the Ks, plug in a podcast and just listen to all your favourite hunting and shooting podcasts, and there's no better way for smashing out the Ks than listen to that than the old music cycling through the old noise of again and again. Exciting news, guys. Olight Australia has come to the party and now supporting the channel, and as a reward, you guys are now eligible for an exclusive offer of 10% off by using the redemption code HSO10, that's HSO10, by clicking on the link in the video below, and that will redirect you to their website, and you'll get 10% off there on all eligible purchases. As well, you can also get the Brass Goblin shirt. Now, the interviewee that you're about to see, he is a mad advocate for the Brass Goblin shirt and was one of the very first people to purchase a shirt. So why don't you get on board and also grab yourself one of these great t-shirts. Hey guys, Rob here from Hunt Shoot Off Road, and today we've got part 3 of Conversations With, and today we have a conversation with a reloader and a podcaster, and I'd like to introduce to the conversation Tavis Buck. Welcome to the show, mate.
Hey guys, it's good to be here.
So I've got a little sign here. I've been making signs for everyone. You probably can't see it on Zoom too well there, but it says the Reloading Podcast. And you just want to tell the viewers and the listeners what the Reloading Podcast is and maybe how you came about joining the show.
Yeah, so the Reloading Podcast, it's just a bunch of goofy guys getting together every week, guys and gals now, getting together every week and just talking about what we enjoy doing, guns and reloading. So
yeah, well, I think I've been listening now for maybe over a year, so it's pretty entertaining. It's pretty good. I think you just cracked the 300 episodes a couple of weeks ago, which is pretty cool.
Yep. Yeah, I haven't been on for all of those episodes. I don't remember when I came on, but yeah, I've been listening for years. I started listening before it was even called the Reloading Podcast. Jim Fleming, he had a podcast. I think it was called the Reloading Room. And back then, Jim had an old chair that every time he kicked back in it, it squeaked. And he would just get on all by himself and talk about reloading. And eventually, somehow, him and Mike hooked up. And that's when it switched over to the Reloading Podcast. And since then, people started coming in, and some left, some stayed. Like I said, I've been listening from the beginning, and I was just a listener, and I also own a steel target company, and I got with those guys, Jim and Mike, and I think Jason was on then, and I just told them I wanted to send them something to show appreciation for them coming on every week, and I started sending them targets and various reloading stuff, and eventually it got to where they just said, "Why don't you just come on?" And I came on one episode, and next thing I knew, I was on the next week and the next week, and I just never left. I don't know if they
Uh,
even wanted me on. I just never left.
no, that sounds awesome. No, it's I did I was watching your This Week in Three Guns, and I saw you had the, what do you call it, the Idaho Spinner, and I was like, Idaho Spinner, that's a Texas Star. And then, of
Yep.
course, it was one of your targets that you'd made, and obviously you branded it as the Idaho Spinner because you're from Idaho, which I just realised just
exactly.
then.
Yep.
And but then later on in the video, you went, "Oh, I've got to shoot this Texas Star," and I was like, "Oh, okay, all right, it is a Texas Star," because that's what we know of it in Australia. So is that the sort of targets you make, all the steel plate knockdowns as opposed to paper targets?
We have both, but mostly, yeah, it's AR-500s targets that we kind of look towards. And the way that all started is I shoot 3-gun a lot, basically just for fun. I'm not like a professional or anything like that, but we just shoot on the weekends, and it got to where steel targets are expensive, and I was working in like the kind of the business of fabrication, so I just started making our clubs steel targets, and then kind of branched out and started selling them locally to gun shops and then online. And it was just a way to get our clubs kind of more affordable targets to purchase, so we could enjoy the sport more.
No, well, that's awesome. And so, are you making the targets full time now, or is that still a side gig?
No, it's just a side thing. It just gives me that extra gun funds.
Yeah, because I mean that's going down the path that I want to talk about today. So, I told you that what I would like to talk about today, although you're from the Reloading podcast, I think there's plenty of reloading content on the Reloading podcast. I've got a little bit of reloading content myself. I know you've watched my boring videos. You've mentioned that in the podcast a few
It
times.
puts me to sleep at night. I just get on the channel and I just put that on, and off
Is
I
it
go.
is it my Aussie accent, or is it my boring content?
It's all the above.
So, I it's funny, because when it was only like last week or the week before that, I found out your problem with the shiny brass, and then I was listening back on the podcast. That conversation actually happened over 2 weeks. So the previous week you were talking about it, and then I was just sitting there listening to, and everyone's going, "You need to use blue dawn, you need to use purple dawn, platinum dawn, and citric acid, and and all this. What's the stuff you guys got over there? It's not called citric acid. It's
Let me shine. Let
Lemmy Shine. We don't have that in Australia, but so we just literally have to get the Lemmy Shine, the citric acid, and I was sitting there listening to it, and people like going, you need a teaspoon, and some people saying tablespoon, and some people saying a cup, like all this stuff like that, and I was listening, and then you said something about, I set mine up on a timer so that it goes from 12 o'clock to 2 o'clock and no one wakes up. And I was like, oh, yeah, that's a pretty good idea. And then I was like, man, I couldn't do that, because if I did that, then I'd have to wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning to get it out, to tip it out, so that it doesn't go black.
Here's what I've been finding. I've actually so back up a little bit. I just got back from a 3-day 3-gun shoot.
Yeah.
And I was able to bring home, just from helping some buddies clean up one of their stages, I brought home a 5-gallon bucket of 223 brass.
Yeah.
So I thought this was a perfect time because, like you just mentioned on the podcast, people were giving me crap because I'm still trying to perfect this wet tumbling. And I have 3 dry media tumblers over here to my left that I normally use. I'm trying to get this wet tumbler, dialed in, but I just can't get my brass. And I know it doesn't matter, but I can't get my brass as shiny as I want. So I decided I'm gonna do some experiments, because I'll admit I'm lazy when it comes to certain things. So normally my dry tumbling I have set up on a timer, so I fill those up at night or whenever, and they're set to go off from 12 a.m. From in the afternoon, they'll go off from 12 to 2, and then the same thing at night. So they're going from 12 to 2 at night.
Yeah.
So
Okay. Yeah.
you know, nobody can hear it. They're quiet enough. And I sometimes I'll leave them in there for a couple days because I'll forget about them.
Yeah,
So
and obviously you can do that in the dry
so
tumbler. Yeah.
okay, so that transferred over to wet tumbling where I had the Frankfurt Arsenal. It just has the dial. You can set
Yeah.
it like
So
2
because
hours.
I got the, it's behind the sign there, but I got the
yeah, you got
Lyman,
the same one right there. Yep.
Lyman
You got-
Cyclone.
Yeah, you got the Lyman. Yeah, I got this Frankfurt, and I got the big one. I'm liking it. But I did start falling asleep, realizing the next day, oh crap, I left that in there. So when I'm telling the guys on the podcast that yeah, I'm leaving it in there, you know, I fall asleep sometimes. I don't pull it out right away. They started giving me a lot of crap. So with this 5-gallon bucket of brass I brought home, I decided to run some tests, and I ran 6 batches. I've done just 2 batches with Dawn Platinum, the purple dish soap.
Yeah.
I've done 2
So
batches.
we don't have Dawn here, so I'm not sure what the equivalent is. I used Cousins, but to be honest, I've just been using the I don't know if you can see it up there, the was it the Lyman Turbo Sonic cleaner?
Okay.
That's all I've been using at the moment. It seems to go all right. So.
Well, I used basically just dish soap and what we call Lemmy Shine, citric acid.
Yep.
Um,
And now is that just like a cheap dish liquid, or is that like a high quality one?
the Dawn Platinum's kind of the high end stuff.
Okay, so it is a good quality.
Yes.
Good quality dish liquid.
Yeah. And then I did. Actually, I did 8 batches. That's what I did because I did 2 and 2 exactly the same, but I left them overnight for 24 hours. There was no difference. Exactly the same outcome, no matter how long I left it in there. I should have tried doing it for 48 hours, but leaving it in there for 24 hours, I didn't get any tarnishing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the exact same outcome. So these guys giving me all this crap saying I'm doing it wrong. I didn't find that to be the case because the brass, I have it all in a pile over here on the ground drying out. You couldn't tell any difference.
So are you? But you're tumbling it and getting it out straight away, or just you're leaving it in the liquid?
So I did the 4 batches.
Oh, with 4 different methods of.
So I did 4 tumble and pulled them right out.
Yeah.
Then the other ones, I let them go for 24 hours. Let it tumble for 2 hours, and I left it alone, left it in there.
Yeah, okay.
For 24 hours, and then I pulled them out. Like I said, I can't tell a difference from pulling them right out after that 2-hour period versus
now,
24.
Are you rinsing them? Are you pulling them out then rinsing them?
Yes.
Yeah, see, because man, I chuck them in there. Now, first of all, I only fill it up to 2/3, right? So I never go to the brim because you need it to be able to move. If it's not moving, then it won't shine. And then I fill the water up to the same level as the shells. And I add the pins in first, and then I fill the water up to it. So it should only be about 2/3, maybe 3/4 if you're going to push it, because you need it to be able to actually agitate and rotate. Mm-hmm. And I found, it comes out, the water comes out filthy black, but man, mine are so shiny. So I don't know, maybe you've got too much brass in there.
Well, now you got me on another experiment I got to do because I'm filling that thing up. I got maybe 3 inches, 4 inches of space left in there.
Oh, really? So, hang on, I'll see if I can. Hang on, I'll take this off. So that's mine. So I would only fill that to about there at the most. So like, what's that, like 2/3 with the shells? Then I'd tip the pins in there on top of that, and I'd only fill the water up to there, because what happens is the liquid foams up as well. So when you go and take the lid off straight away, like it's full, and the foam is so fine, it's almost like liquid. So that it's almost completely full. But I did one where I filled it up probably up to about there, and when I went to get it out, it was nowhere near as clean. So I had to put it back in the tumbler to get it to just go for longer to get it to go shiny. So the less material you've got in there, the faster they'll clean up.
Okay, I'll have to try it because that last line you said where you filled it too full, that's about where I'm filling it too.
Yeah,
So,
try 2/3. Try 2/3. Because I think there's nothing wrong with your chemical composition. I think it's probably just how much you're putting in there. And probably if you get on the Frankfurt Arsenal, read the instructions, it might say something about that in there. Because I'm pretty sure that was with my instructions with the Lyman.
sorry,
Was
the
to,
what?
Just
Thing that I throw away.
Guys off the Reloading podcast told me, like they're just listening.
Right when you open the box, there's that paper stuff in there. That's what I chuck right away.
Yeah, on the packaging, I call that packaging. If you read the packaging, yeah, you'll be right. But it'd be interesting.
If it's not on the picture of the box,
it's out the window. All right. Anyway, that's enough talking about that. It's just I like the way that you guys let us contribute to the show, and I think that's how everyone's able to learn and find new products.
Yeah, we really like and appreciate all you guys who come on every week and harass us and make comments because it keeps us all entertained, and we really appreciate it.
Yeah, well, and I've got some good conversations I'd really like to have about, I think there's always this disjointedness from choosing your gun to choosing your projectile to choosing your powder, and I want to see that all mashed up in one. And I'd like to probably have an interview with like Paul Loud or Chris Sharp or something like that. I think that's something I'm going to try and sort out soon and talk specifically about that because it's really interesting. It's pretty exciting. But let's look. We've deviated a little bit off. So what I'd like to talk about today is the American gun culture, as they like to say. And as someone who is an Aussie, I'm into shooting. I'm into reloading. I can't help but think that this gun culture, and I say that loosely because I don't believe it's so much a gun culture as I think it's a sport. I think the sport is much bigger and it's huge. And that's what I really want to delve in today is how big is the shooting sports in America. And I guess what triggered me on this tangent was, like I've got this Dillon 750. One of the improvements they made with the Dillon 750 was they made it easier to swap the priming system over. So from small to large so that people could swap out, they got the shell plates that you just... I've got some up the top there as well. So, you just pull it out, put your 45s auto in there, or take that out, put your 9mm in, swap it over, 223 and all that. But the more and more I keep watching, the more I see people don't have one 750. They've got like 5 750s, and they're just set up for each caliber all the time.
So the American standard was, we're kind of lazy, and we like to be convenient, so... before the 750 was around, we had the 650. The 650, the priming system's completely different from the 750. For those who know,
it's got the disc on there, the primers, and it rotates. I've got a video about the difference between the two.
Okay,
it's actually one of my...
The new 750 is set up more like a 550. The priming system's just, in my opinion, way better.
Yeah, it just feeds in off the slide with one at a time. If you don't use it, it comes back and it stays there for the next one. Whereas the 650 just keeps throwing them in the bin, and so you could buy special attachments to try and catch them.
It's called a live primer shoot.
Yeah, so obviously significant improvements, but and then of course you've got guys with the 1050s. I think you got one in the background there, and there's guys with multiple 1050s. So I'm sitting here thinking, man. First of all, in Australia, these things are so expensive, right? And I know you guys were talking about it. Like we talked about the price of 1,000 primers in Australia. I think at the moment was about $80, and then Jim did the maths and said, "Oh, that's the equivalent of what we pay." Well, our pay doesn't go up when the US dollar goes up, right? So if you get paid $1,000, you still only get paid $1,000. But the primers now, instead of them costing $50, they now cost $80. So. If the US dollar goes up, everything goes up, but our pay stays the same. So it still costs us more. Now we're paying for the equivalent of 1.5 boxes or 2 boxes. And, so one of these, I fortunately bought one when they first come out. Pretty good price. I think it was about $965 Australian. I'd hate to think what they're worth now. They're probably worth $1,300 or $1,400. to get a Hornady lock and load AP, I think it's called, that you have to pay the same price for a Hornady as for a Dillon in Australia, for a Dillon 750. So there's no reason why in Australia you'd buy a Hornady, because it doesn't have the same quality as a Dillon, but you're not saving money. Yes, you could buy a Lee. The Lee is significantly cheaper. And if you wanted an RCBS, whatever that one's called, man, you're going to pay twice the price of an RCBS as for a Dillon. And I don't think that there's any value in buying.
No, you picked the right one for sure.
So, but there's no way I could afford 4 of these things, right? That's where I was going, was like, as I was doing more and more research into the 650s and the 750s, I was like, man, these guys don't own one of them. They own, here I am thinking, yeah, I've got a couple of quick change kits and all that, thinking I'm the boss, and these guys got their quick change kits, just get a whole press.
Yeah, so like I was saying, for most of us, for all the reloaders who know, you got small primer and large primer. So the old 650 and such, it was a real pain to, if let's just say one weekend you want to go load for 9mm, the next weekend you want to load for 45 ACP, you have to change out that whole priming system. So we kind of just would buy one. It wasn't that we're buying per caliber, we're actually buying per primer size. So you would buy one machine for small primers and one machine for large primers.
Okay.
So
that
we would like to have 2 machines, large and small, and then you can switch your caliber conversion kits between those 2 depending on which machine was for large and which one was for small primers.
Yeah, cool. So then the other things that started triggering me into how big the shooting sports might be was just looking at the number of people with multiple firearms of the same type. So, multiple AR-15s, multiple 1911s or 1920s or 2019s or 2011s. 2011s. Removable scopes with the quick release thing, which I know you had a few dramas with.
Yep. I'm glad you said
and just a huge modification market, right? So I think when people start modifying things, it's for performance reasons. And I feel like unless you're using something all the time, you don't need to improve the performance. It'd be like having a car that you only drove on the weekends. You're not going to go in there and, rebuild the heads and put turbos on it and put a big exhaust. You're typically going to do that to something that you're using all the time, because you want to get the most value out of it. And I'm like, man, there's just so many modifications that these guys are doing. I feel like they're doing a lot of modifications. They're pushing the firearms to the limit of their capability. But then because of that, there's a chance of breakdown. So now you've got to have a second one, but you've got to have all the same modifications so you can quickly change over to it. And I was like, I feel like the sport is huge. And that's what I want to talk about, is like, what is the shooting sports in the States, and how big is it? I understand that, there's different laws for different states. I understand it. It's the same in Queensland. But, I think in Australia, everyone thinks that everyone's hunting with AR-15s. I don't believe that that's the case. I think maybe in Texas, where there's a lot of hog hunting. But my impression of America, most of the hunting is deer hunting. It's done on state land, and there's a lot of restrictions. So only 2 or 3 round limits in your firearms. I mean, there's some states that have caliber limitations, so you can only use a straight wall pistol caliber. Hence the 350 Legend is born out of that, and obviously the desire to use a AR-15. Can't forget that. And I guess that's what I want to know. How big is the sport? I know I've just put a big information dump on you, but you went on a 3-day comp the other week, and I was like, is that a state comp? And you're like, no, it's just a local one. To me, I'm like, wow, a 3-day competition for some local guys. To me, I feel like maybe the shooting sports is bigger than the NRL is in Australia, which is the National Rugby League. Maybe it doesn't have the number of spectators, but I think maybe it has way more participants, and there's so many more people involved in it. And, I could only tell you one shooter from Australia, and that's Neil Diamond, who won an Olympic gold medal for some shotgunning. I feel like, you got Jerry Michalik, is that his name?
Yeah.
And there's heaps of guys that I know the names of just because their names are getting thrown around all the time. It's like, I feel like you guys have got superstars in the sports. You can't have superstars in the sports unless the sport is big. So how big is the sport? Like, are most people that are participating, are they shooting once a week, multiple times a week, or what's happening there?
So let me just preference. I can only speak to what I know. I might be giving you false info, but I think you're thinking it's way bigger than it really is. Say the American gun culture is those who are in the culture, we're just into firearms. So, most Americans into firearms, we have multiple firearms, right? So once most of us, at least who are interested, once you get to a point, you can either have a safe full of guns that you do something with, or you just look at them, right?
Yeah.
So it's just like you just said, you don't, yeah, us as Americans, and I think most people, when they get something, one of the first things you start looking at is what can I modify? What can I change out? Whatever company you bought said item from, I can do something better to this, right? So that's just how we all are. I mean, sure, I'm sure we could all just pick up a standard base AR-15, go out to a three gun competition and have a good time, right? But it's just not in our nature. We're tinkerers. We
Well, anyone
all
that's into reloading is definitely a tinkerer.
I could say I couldn't tell you the last time I've actually seen like a stock firearm. Every firearm I have or friends, you know, something's got been changed on it. But anyway, we three gun is what I enjoy shooting because it's in the name. Three guns. You shoot rifle, pistol, and shotgun. I think around the world, shotgun sports is probably one of the largest shooting competitions, all over the world. There's championships in France, Brazil, all over the place for shotgun stuff.
Yeah, it's big here as well, and I don't know too much about it, but obviously you got your skeet and your trap and all that sort of stuff like that. But it is huge. It would be the biggest sport
Yeah.
even here in Australia. But we can only have, can't have semi-auto, so it's all side by sides and over and under, which is what that sport lends itself to anyway, because it's two shots per bird or whatever you want to call it anyway. So
Yeah, that's no fun. You need to get a semi-auto shotgun. Say
dude,
my shotgun holds 14 rounds.
yeah, yeah. Well, because we've got lever action shotguns. That's all we can have. So pump actions have been essentially outlawed unless you're a primary producer, so or a commercial shooter. So it's very difficult to get them for the regular person. No
Yeah,
one
and
that
see
lives in the
some
city.
of these gun laws doesn't matter where you're at. They just don't make any sense, do they?
No, that's right. But then so we had the Adler, which was this lever action shotgun, and it was coming into the country with a 7-shot magazine tube, and then the what we call Gun Control Australia, which is our anti-gunners, the big ones. They jumped up and down, and then they limited us to a 5-shot magazine. But then because it was a Category A firearm, there was no magazine limit. So then everyone just extended them back out to 7 shots. I had a 28-inch barrel, so I extended mine out to a 10-shot thing. And then they changed the laws again and said that any firearm, any shotgun that's a lever action that is over 5 shots is now going to be Category D. And then I got a special code on my license to say that I could have this Category D firearm, which is essentially a firearm you can't have. And then
Yeah.
all the other ones became Category B, and and so
Yeah,
anyway,
we're going into politics stuff here.
yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
But anyway,
I just think like a lot of firearm laws are made by people who don't know anything about what we're even, our intents are or what we're doing. They think they know what's best for us, you know,
yeah.
and such. But
Okay, well
yeah, is it
let's go back to your tournament. Like, how many people turned up to your 3-day tournament, and what was the scale of that? Like, was it just a local tournament, or was it like the town or whatever? Like,
so? Yeah, so this was one of the first like big matches I've gone to. So let's back up a little bit. I don't know if you guys have seen like on TV. We used to have it was called Three Gun Nation, And that's kind of more like what you're talking about, where it was broadcast, kind of like a sporting, event where it was in the States. It was actually pretty huge in the shooting world, where you
So
had
so this was on free to air TV or cable
correct,
TV or something.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah, and it was called Three Gun Nation, and Three Gun Nation, just like any sport, it had specific rules that had to be followed. I mean, it's basically was the standard.
Yeah.
What I shoot, and most people now, because Three Gun Nation was actually disbanded. There was stuff, anti-gunner stuff and whatever. It just got to the point where they just quit doing it. So what most of us do now, we call it Three Gun Outlaw. So basically, whatever clubs, let's just use examples like my hometown. Let's say we put on a three gun event for that month. The next town over, they have a three gun event the following week, and the town over there has one the following week after that. The outlaw wise, we do pretty much stick to the same rules, but there's really no set rules, so things could be kind of different from one club to the other, if that makes
Yeah.
sense. But
Yeah.
for the most part, it's all exactly the same. There is no three gun nation anymore. And three gun nation, you kind of kept score throughout your start of the season to the ending, and you could go back and look at scores, see where you ranked and everything. The Three Gun Nation on TV, that was like the top notch guys. I mean, the real
Yeah. Okay.
professionals. They were going for $50,000, $100,000 prizes. We're just out there doing it for fun. Some of these bigger ones you go to, they'll have a prize table, but at these outlaw ones, we're really just going to hang out and just have a good time. So yeah, so right now, like I said, each where I'm at, I have a three gun shoot almost every single weekend. I take one weekend off so the wife doesn't kill me, and it's getting it shooting the 3 and 4, you know, three gun matches a month for her is getting really old. Uh,
And so to put that in perspective, how many rounds of each type of ammunition are you
it
shooting? Like
it will
is that like,
vary. It could vary. Let's just say, like I
let's
said,
just say
three
on
gun.
average, like,
Yeah,
so
let's
we'd be
just say
talking like,
three. Yeah, three gun rifle, shotgun, pistol. Sometimes the match director, he will have a stage where you use all three guns, and you could have, you know 20 to 40 pistol shots. The same with rifle. Shotgun wise, you could have 10 or 12, or same 40. It just depends what stage they have set up. I've been to some stages where it's like 100 pistol over here and then 100 shotgun. So, like I said, whatever your match director can dream up and set up a stage to accommodate, they'll do it.
so do you know sort of how many rounds you need of everything before you turn up? Like, do they
So
give you
what
a,
exactly what they'll usually do is they'll send you the week prior. We're shooting on Saturday. Here's our round count, and generally, what it ends up being is it's kind of just a generic. Bring 250 rifle, 250 pistol, and like 100 shot. Bring
okay, so,
5 slugs.
oh, okay, wow, yeah. So that's I mean that's pretty impressive. I mean that's a lot of ammunition because I do a little bit of cowboy shooting, and I only typically go once a month, except Corona's like killed it amongst
Hmm.
some other things, and like 100 pistol slash rifle rounds is all you need because you'll use like, so I got 44 Magnum, so I have 44 Magnum pistols, 44 Magnum lever action, and it's like 50 for the rifle, 50 for the pistols, and then like one box of 25 would be more than enough for the shotgun. So, you're talking about, you know, more than double that, which is
Yeah, a
obviously.
lot
And
of
then once you're doing that every week, that's like, nearly
yeah.
a thousand.
You have to reload.
Yeah,
That's
that'll have a
that's
lot of
why
coin.
I reload, because I can't afford to just go to the store and keep buying ammo off the shelves, and then you run into the times when they're out, and then what do you do?
Yeah, Yeah. Okay. And so would you be? So are you doing practice during the week as well on top of this, or practice is on the competition line?
All of the above. So if we can get out, like you said though, this Corona thing has really put a damper on everybody throughout the world, right?
Of course. Yeah.
So I don't know what it's like in Australia, but here it's hard to find primers. The projectiles that I want to shoot, I haven't been able to find any for months. I just found a store off the internet that had 4,000 of them, so I snagged those all up today, just so because if I don't have that stuff, I can't shoot, right?
Yeah. Well, I
So
did a bit of a snatch and grab before Corona. I think just like in there, I was able to get like 600 223s. I think there are 69 grain or 67 grain Hornady, something tack tip or something like whatever it is. I don't know. And I've got
yeah,
some other Sierra 308 rounds there somewhere, but I just was like, oh man, I better get some rounds because I think that this could stuff us up. And man, I was so glad I did because like literally 3 days later, they closed up all the gun shops. So I got everything except for my powder. I tried to get 4.5 kilos of 2206H, which I think is is it IMR 4385? Or that is what's the two Hornady and IMR that got the same number? What's those ones?
yeah, I can't remember. I don't use either of them, but we just had a talk about this the other day on the podcast. Yeah, it's IMR and Hodgdon. They share the same.
Yeah, so that's the I'm pretty sure that's the ADI 2206H, which is like that's our 223 hunting powder. Like it's just a generic stick powder. Uh, you know, it is what it is. So I
Yeah,
tried to get 4 kilos of that, but all I could get was half a kilo. And so I've been waiting now for 3 months, paid for the powder and everything, and I'm still waiting for it. Like it hasn't turned up. So
yeah. I was supposed to have 16 pounds delivered to my door today. I'm hoping it shows up tomorrow. But yeah, when I can, I sometimes we'll all kind of a bunch of us will go in on some powder together.
yeah, because
So
you get smashed with the postage in Australia. They just won't even post it. Like it's just not even a
oh
thing. I think if
okay.
you want to, I think you have to pay like $250 to get it. Like it's just not even worth it. So it's not even a consideration.
Yeah, we have a hazmat fee, and a lot of companies online, if you order, like you said, $250 worth or something, they waive the hazmat. That basically they'll cover the hazmat fee because there still is a hazmat fee.
Yeah, yeah,
But yeah, I just ordered for me and a couple other guys. I think I ordered like 64 pounds of powder last month for us.
yeah. Wow.
Like I said, I should have had 16 pounds delivered today, and it didn't show up yet. Then I just ordered those
So because what's
projectiles.
I don't even have any of the drums here because it's illegal for me to have it on my reloading bench. I have to have it
Oh, you
locked
gotta have it
away.
locked up. Yeah.
Yeah, so we got the 4 kilo one, which is like this big, and it's like that, which I think might be your 8 pound. Is 8 pound your
Probably.
big
Yeah.
one?
Yeah. I don't know what kilos weighs in pounds, but yeah,
So I
our
think it's
jugs are what?
2.2 pounds to a kilo. I think it is. So it must be your 8 pound. Must be like our 4 kilo one.
Yeah. For us, we got 1 pound, 1 pound little jugs, and then
Okay,
we've
that's
got 4 pound smaller, you know, kegs, and then we have the big 8 pound kegs.
okay. That'd be about right then. So we've got half kilo, 1 kilo, 2 kilo, and then a 4 kilo. So and then if you get like the trail boss in the same 4 kilo one, it's only like 1.5 kilos because it's
So fluffy.
so fluffy. Yeah, the little
Yeah.
donuts. So and so you don't use any of that sort of stuff. The light fluffy stuff. Are you using pretty hard stuff in the 3 gun?
No, I used to use a lot of unique, which is pretty fluffy stuff.
Yeah. Okay.
A lot of guys will use crap. It's not Trail Boss. Bullseye. That's another nice fluffy one. But yeah, we use all the same kind of powders and stuff. But
Yeah.
I've
But
actually
for the
switched
three
over.
gun, what are you using for the 3 gun? Like a pretty normal powder?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of us who shoot three gun, most of us reload because, like I said, it's kind of necessity.
Yeah.
So everyone's using their own recipes and stuff. So I think we're all using the same stuff you guys are using.
But well, I guess what I'm asking though, are you still using like, if you've got a 223, you're still using like 25 grains of powder?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
No,
so you
yeah,
like full loads then? Oh,
yeah,
I guess
yeah.
because
We're
you've got
not.
to cycle the
Yeah, We're
AR
not
as
like
well.
have some special 3-gun setups or nothing. No, we're just
Well,
using the
with the
same
because
same stuff.
with the cowboy action, the 44 Magnum, like I can't reach it. Like we're just putting like 4.5 grains of trail boss in there. It's like a third of a case, like, and
Yeah.
it's only just popping out the end, really.
So here's an example though. Like we're shooting. If you had to choose, you would go hotter, not less. Because we got steel targets. Let's use a pistol right now for an example. So let's say you have some knockover steel, and they say you have a plate rack and some paper targets. You're not obviously for the paper, you just need to put holes in it.
Yeah,
But the steel, you got to knock it off or knock the plate rack. You got to knock it down. So you need to have enough force to not to do that. So you're not gonna load on the lighter side. We call it power factor.
yeah, yeah.
Uh,
We got the power factor in the cowboy stuff as well, but
yeah,
we
so
just
we're
have to hit the thing. We don't have to knock it over typically.
yeah, and I know a lot of you guys. I got some friends shooting cowboy. They shoot basically wax plugs or
Nah, we don't.
glue
We shoot
plugs.
lead. Yeah, we
Real men down there in Australia.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So I think like in the cowboy action, most people are shooting what is it, a 357, but with a
Hmm.
38 special case, and then the rest are it's probably like one third. So one third is shooting 357, one third is shooting sort of 45 Magnum, and then the other ones are shooting the 45 long Colt, and there's pretty much not much else gets used. So but that's I'm not even into that in a big way, but like my father-in-law, he's huge into it. Like he loves it, and
So you guys down there get to pick some pretty sweet cowboy names too.
yeah, well, you have to. You can't use your own
Yeah,
name.
okay,
So,
it's exactly the same then. So
what was yours?
oh, I never shot cowboy stuff. I wasn't gonna dress up and
Well, I just turn
come.
up in jeans and a button-up shirt. Like I don't go too hard on it, and then I've got a hat. Oh, that's over
Well,
there.
tell us all what your cowboy name is.
So my cowboy name is Gutshot Bob. And so that's a nickname that my mates gave me back from hunting, and I'll let you do the maths on that one. But it's funny they used to say that. I was like, well, my pigs are on the ground. Where are yours? They run off because they all had 223s and stuff. So
Yeah, I seen a picture you posted of your last little hunt you got back from. It was pretty nice.
actually, that's from about a month ago. But that was a good sized pig. So you had the 3-gun comp on when we were originally scheduled for the interview, and then you wanted to do it the next week. I said, no, I've got another hunt to go on, which is an hour and 11 minutes from my house, and I actually got 2 pigs. So that was a really good result because the other pigs, there was like a 7.5 hour drive. Like I got to drive miles to get there. So,
Yeah.
and I've gained access to this property that's only just down the road, and it's like an hour and 11 minutes from my house to the gate. And I've seen wild dogs there. There's deer there, and I've shot pigs there. I actually had the opportunity to take a deer, but I didn't pull the trigger because I didn't have an esky or anything to carve it up, and I'd never done that before. I'd never done any research into it, so the ethical thing for me was just to let it go so that I could be prepared and make do with it what I needed to do when I get it on the ground. So because it's
So
easy to put it on the ground.
do you guys have limits on how many of the wild hogs you can shoot?
Nope. No.
Okay.
So this come up in the podcast the other day. So we pretty much cannot shoot native animals, right? So you can't shoot kangaroos, can't shoot emus, can't shoot anything like that, wombats or whatever. Like you can't shoot any of that stuff. There's some states obviously have like I think VGM on the podcast. He said, I think in South Australia they can take one kangaroo or something like that, and maybe in Victoria, but in Queensland you can't take them. So a lot of farms have mitigation certificates, which means they have a license to put a certain number of animals down. And if they have a mitigation certificate and you were to shoot the kangaroos, you're not allowed to move them. Like they have to just stay where they fall, unless they fall on a road, and then you drag them off the road. but you can't harvest that meat. So you can't. The only way for someone to harvest the meat is through like a professional kangaroo harvester, and then go via Woolworths or Coles, which are our supermarket equivalents. So the only game really that we can shoot is feral pests. So we're talking deer, pigs, goats, wild dogs, donkeys, camels, cats, all that sort of stuff like that. And all that stuff is classed as, well, deer in Victoria, they do have some kind of restrictions, so you can only hunt them, I think, in a couple of months of the year. In New South Wales, literally late last year, they declared them a pest, and you can hunt them all year round. In Queensland, you can spotlight them. You can shoot as many of them as you want. They're just like, you can just take as many pigs or goats as whatever. So the only restrictions placed on you are basically by the property owner. So in New South Wales, you can hunt state forests. In Victoria, you can hunt state forests. In Queensland, we have no state forest hunting. So in Queensland, which is where I'm from, all the hunting is done on private land. So every single bit of hunting is done on private land, and it's pretty much just do what the landholder expects you to do, So you'll go there and just shoot as many pigs as you can because they're just tearing up the place. So I think, I'm not sure what it's like in America. I know Texas seems to have a bit of a hog problem, but in Queensland and New South Wales, the pigs are big problem. So we call them pigs and boars, like you guys call them hogs.
That's we call all of the above. Yeah.
Yeah.
Where I'm at, I live in Idaho. We don't have that problem yet, but most of the other part of the country, they're just overwhelming, and it's the same. Just take as many as you can, really.
Yeah. So we got like all the places I've been to, there's heaps of baiting for wild dogs as well. So I'm a bit scared to harvest the pig meat because you don't know if it's been eaten the 1080 poison, because it's a real problem,
Oh.
And I just don't know enough about diagnosing whether there's a problem with that I won't touch it. So I'm happy to harvest a deer if I take one, but everything else I've ever shot's just gone to the ground. So, but yeah, so that's what I was up to the other weekend, and I'm actually going to go out there again tonight. So I don't have high expectations, but because I know there's stuff there now, I'll be like super alert and I'll be hunting pretty hard. So if I'm lucky, the wild dogs might have just dropped their pups, and I've got a couple of dens that I can go to and hopefully take the mum and the pups, maybe if I'm lucky, or at least get some pups or something like that. Just remove a few pests from the land, and that would make the landholder obviously pretty happy and satisfied. So that's my expectation for this weekend, but we'll see what happens. So, but you don't do any hunting, do you? You're strictly all competition.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. I mean, I'm not against hunting. I would like to get into it, but I just don't have the time.
No, not
I got
when you're
four.
hunting.
I got 4 kids, a job, and then this competition stuff. That right there all keeps me pretty busy.
Wow, I didn't realize you had 4 kids. I thought you had like just the one. I thought that was a new one.
Yeah, I got 4. I got an 18-year-old who says he's moving out of the house at the end of the month. I got a 13-year-old, an 8-year-old, and then the 2-year-old little guy.
Okay, so back on the, I guess on the guns and stuff in the US. Well, I guess you probably answered most of the questions I have with it, but like how many people turned up to your local match? Like, is it just like 20 people, or are we talking like 50 people?
So like I said, we try to hit all of our local stuff. There's obviously, I hit one every week except for basically the 3rd Saturday of the month. That's the one I skip.
Yep.
So just picture, branched out. There's everywhere else is doing the same thing. So you gotta kind of pick what you're doing. Besides 3-gun, there's it's called IPSC. There's USPSA.
That must be the IPSC. I think you guys just
yep.
call it IPSC. Yeah. Okay.
Yep. So you got your pistol competitions. It's pistol only. So you got all these other shooting sports. There's also where I'm at, my local range. They're really big into shotgun stuff. So every Thursday night they do a big shotgun shoot. So you kind of got to pick what sport you want to go in, and all the cool guys, we pick the 3-gun, right? Because you get to play with 3 guns versus 1, right? 3 times the fun.
Well, I mean that's what I would do. But see, I think we do have IPSC. Oh, I know for a fact we have IPSC. I think they can shoot 3 guns in some of the competitions. So I think they have like straight pull rifles or pump action rifles and semi-auto pistols, and they use like lever action shotguns and stuff like that. But there's just not much knowledge of it. Like I like the other day I posted on Facebook on like the big Australian Facebook page for shooting. I was like, hey guys, I want to do some long range shooting. Where can I go? That's in Brisbane. Man, 4 days later, it was just crickets. Not a single comment on there. And I was like, wow, that's just ridiculous. Like, you couldn't get involved in the sport if you tried, and then of course I just ended up ringing up somewhere and then finally got out there, and it's just, it was, I thought it was just a bit lacking really. It's like, I feel like I thought way more people were doing it than they are even here. So
Yeah, see, around here, yeah, in America, the long range stuff, that's kind of a real big growing segment right now. That's kind of the up and coming biggest thing for us right now in this area is long range stuff.
and so that long range shooting, I'm assuming that that's not being taken part on a range. Is that more likely taken part in like state forests or state deserts or something like that, or do
No,
you
no,
literally
we
have,
most of the ones I know of, they're held at ranges
and they can do like 1,000 yards on those
or more.
ranges?
Yep.
Yeah, wow, that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
And because like,
I went and helped RO1 last year, and it wasn't at a range. We go out. This one was held out kind of on the desert, and it was a 2 day shoot. And yeah, that's the only one that I've know of or been to that wasn't at a range. It was just out in the desert, and it was, I think, 8 stages.
yeah, cool. And like, when you just go to the range, do you guys have to pay per hour, or can you just like sit there all day?
Uh, I guess it depends. Like I said, I can only talk about what I know. So in our area, if you want to go shoot pistols or something indoors, you'll go to a range and you'll rent a lane or something for a couple hours, an hour. They have different
Okay, yeah,
rates. But like the ranges that I'm used to and stuff, normally it's you can pay for like a membership for a year.
yeah,
And but then when we go to these other competitions, obviously we're not going to be a member of all these other ranges.
yeah.
um, if they just add in like $5 extra fee, and they give that to the club, for us coming and shooting at their range. So that's how
Yeah,
that works.
I think we have the same sort of thing. Like when I do the cowboy action, if I go to the Gold Coast, I pay like the Gold Coast Cowboy Club. I just pay them like $12, and I think they take $2, and $10 goes to the actual range for
That's
essentially for
exactly the
range
same
fees. Yeah,
type of setup. Then, yep.
yeah. So no, that sounds. I mean, that sounds pretty reasonable, pretty good. And I guess when you guys seem to be like shooting huge volumes of ammunition and that, is it considerably cheaper over there to shoot, to like when you're moving so much volume, or is it still costing you guys like a lot of money to be involved in the sport in that at that sort of level?
Yeah, it's expensive. I there's some guys who don't reload, and they have to go to the store like other people, and buy their stuff off the shelves, and they're paying a premium. And then there's guys like me who are frugal and try to save as much as I can when I can. So as you know, I got into casting my own projectiles for my pistol stuff. So that was a cost savings for me. Then I got into powder coating, and um, I'm loading up my own ammo whenever I can. I even load up my own shotgun shells. I literally have totes. I think there's 4, 8, 9, 14 giant totes I'm staring at, full of once fired shotgun holes. I've got probably I got about 800 plus pounds of shot over here. I've got wads, 12,000 primers. I've got enough stuff stocked up, just from buying stuff when I can, uh, wheeling and dealing with people, trading stuff off, collecting all this stuff because I like to be able to shoot and I want to know that I have what I need to reload. I don't like to be dependent on a store carrying my favorite brand or whatever. If I could make my own gunpowder, I probably would do that too, But primers and gunpowder and projectiles for my rifle is the one thing that I do have to buy, and um, there's just no way around it. It costs a bunch, and then of course you got to add in, like we talked about earlier, your firearms, and they're not going to stay stock. So then you purchase the firearm, and you start purchasing, different components, and
Well,
you
that's something that I find interesting. Like, so in the past, I would be like, man, there's no way I'm like, so for example, like a Tika T3, right? That cost us in Australia like $1,200, right? So, I actually bought, it's in the box there, a Midwest Industry M Block foreguard for the Marlin lever action, right? That thing, to get that in Australia, that cost me like $450, right?
wow.
And it's like, man, why didn't I just buy another gun? So I've until recently, I've always just bought another gun. Like, rather than modify one I got, I'll just spend the money on another gun and just get another gun. I don't have a huge collection, but I've probably got more than your average Australian. And I've been doing a little bit of wheeling and dealing. I bought some really cheap and then flicked them on, like almost doubled my money and stuff like that. So I've been doing that to try and supplement the gun purchasing. But are you guys like spending as much on modifying the firearms as purchasing the firearms, or are the modifications relatively cheap in the scheme of things?
Yeah, so I took the scope off, and we'll talk about that in a second why. But yeah, we bought this. Started off, standard receiver set,
Yeah.
cheap handguard, cheap buttstock, and you'll replace. First thing most of us do is replace the handguard, and then we'll replace the buttstock, the pistol grip.
Now let's
So
that four in. Would that normally come with that sort of M16 style plastic drum on the front, or just some cheap M-lock style thing or something?
exactly. Yeah, around here you got your basic, like you just said, the cheap plastic M16 handguard. Most
Yeah.
of us
Okay. Yeah.
have, learned and got away from that years ago, but that's kind of like your baseline model that guys
That's
buy.
what would come on the gun.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
one step up, they'll basically the exact same setup, but then the handguard is kind of a more expensive, nicer one.
Like with Picatinny rails on it or something like that.
Exactly,
Yeah.
yeah. So like I said, this started off, pieces, and there's nothing. That rifle's basically, the funny thing is, you buy and you replace, then all of a sudden you got another rifle here because you've taken all them parts off, set in your cupboard, and the next thing you know, you basically just bought a whole nother gun, and there's another one sitting in there from the cheap parts you took off, and this isn't even what you purchased to begin with. You know what I mean?
Maybe just the
So,
lower or something like that.
like, well, yeah. So this did have a standard lower and upper and lower receiver. This is a
Yeah.
billet mega arms receiver set, so that's been replaced. Fortis handguard, Luth AR stock, new pistol grip, all these different,
Yeah. See the
safety
trigger. Looks
pins.
like the magazine release.
Yeah, not one thing
Oh
on here
man.
is like a stock piece. Um,
What's that on the bolt? Is that black thing?
what
Is that a
where right
what's yeah
here?
that thing? Yeah, that thing. What's that?
That's the charging handle.
That's what releases it or something. Is it the okay?
Yeah, that's what pulls the. Oh, you guys got ARs in Australia?
Man, nah. Pretty much, you can get them if you're a primary producer or a contract shooter, but I've never.
Okay.
It would be illegal for me to handle that weapon.
Oh, really?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I got a gun safe full of these.
Oh man.
Yeah, but that's the charging handle. That's what pulls the bolt, carrier
Yeah,
group
but
back,
is that
charge it
that
up.
on that black thing though? Is that like a special lock on there or something like that, or is that just like an
No,
extension?
it's just an extension so you can reach out and grab it.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Because
Yeah.
a standard one, this is you can see right there's a better view of it. A
Oh,
standard
okay.
one's going to be even smaller than this right here.
Yeah.
So it's really tiny. You really got to get in there. So we have these extended ones where you can just they either have one here or they even have doubles.
Yeah.
But it's just a quick, nice spot to grab onto there. But what I was
I
going
love
to
that
say,
handle. That hand. It's a little bit better than the grip. Sorry, that's a little bit better
yeah,
than the mag pull I've got. That looks like some billet aluminium job.
exactly. Yep, it is. Yeah, so we start replacing everything. This is what I'm really happy with. This barrel here
Is that
is
carbon
from
fiber?
Yeah, from BSF. They make a stainless steel. I ordered a stainless steel fluted barrel. It's 5R rifling, and then it's a carbon fiber sleeve. It's not wrapped. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Proof Research.
No.
Okay, so Proof Research, they make a barrel and then they like wrap it in carbon fiber.
So what you're saying there is that the carbon fiber is hard on the steel, whereas that one's
Yeah,
got like a space in there, doesn't it?
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So this gun right here, I can shoot a whole mag of 20, 30 rounds and then literally grab this and it's warm, but it's not hot.
Yeah. If you touch the
That's
muzzle
how,
brake there, you probably burn yourself.
oh yeah, you'll burn your, but yeah, this barrel here, this is a super nice, like I say, this barrel here with the full setup and the brake, that's like $900 right there. So for just the barrel, I could have a whole nother,
Damn,
rifle setup.
that's like 1,800 here at the moment. Like,
Yeah, so there's the rifle. Every piece on there is not what I started off with.
yeah.
And then like here's my scope. This is a Vortex Razor HD 1-6. This is
Now the Razor, that's like this. Is that the second from the top, or is that the top of the range?
it's the top.
Because they just released the 1 to 10. Is that a Razor as well?
Yeah, the one
But
that
that thing's like that's like $3,000 or something silly.
yeah, this 1-6 that I got, it's probably retail I think 2,000, 2,200.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
I think that 1 to 10 for us is like 28 right now, 2,800.
Yeah.
But
Which it would be just perfect balance of everything, but
exactly. But like, do I need this scope? Do I need to spend that kind of money
I don't know
to go out?
what power do you have it on? Do you just use it on one power, or are you using the variable?
I actually do use the variable. So this is like I said, 1 to 6.
Yeah.
Normally I'm on 1, or I go to 4, or straight to 6. That's basically
Yeah.
what I don't I'm not using all the other ones for the most part, but what I'm saying is I don't need this scope. This is very
Overkill.
expensive. I don't need to have it, but it's what we like to do, right?
Okay. But I guess, I mean, that shows your level of commitment to the sport there. That you're happy to spend some good dollars on the equipment. But
Right.
I can't see that being any different to someone playing golf and having like expensive
Exactly.
set of
That's
clubs or
exactly.
something like that.
Do they need those expensive set of clubs? No.
Is it going to
Will
make
they
them a
have
better
just
player?
exactly?
Yeah. So I guess so. I guess probably so. Just like the few of us in Australia that are into firearms, those guys that are into firearms are like they're into them. They're like buying the best scopes you can. Fitting the rifles out with what they consider to be the best modifications for their style of shooting and all that sort of stuff like that. So let's talk about that mount, because I know that was a bit of an issue for you. Now,
Yeah.
now my only issue with it is, why would you go quick release? Are you changing it between a couple of firearms, or
No.
it's just the cool thing to have, or
So I don't want to name the company because they're actually working with me right now to fix this. But this
no?
is
I'm not asking you to rat them out. I
Yeah,
don't want to talk. All I want to talk about is the quick release. I don't want to talk about
so
the
this
other
right
things.
here. This is a higher end scope mount.
Yeah.
It's the company is one of the higher ends, and they're known for having, some of the best quick release scope mounts.
Yeah.
You can see right there's the levers. That's how you put it on the
Yeah, and then
pin
I saw
rails
the other
on.
day it's actually got like an actual little locking mechanism
Yeah,
on there as
so
well. Yeah.
that's what failed on me. You can see right where my finger is. That's the lock. So it's not just free pulling on and off. And like right now, I can't get it to pop off. So I don't know what's happened because during
Is
that
that even necessary though? Because isn't it like a cam lock anyway? So you got a cam lock and a
it's
lock.
kind of like a cam lock, yeah. But with obviously, like what I'm saying is, without that lock, what was happening with me is somehow this lock wasn't holding on this particular one right here. So
And
I'd
a
be
pop up. Yeah.
shooting, and all of a sudden I'd look up, and the lever would be like that, and I would, you know, it happened to me on 4 stages. There's 10 stages on that 3-day event. So the first day, I shot 2 stages, no problems. Then I went to one that was, we had shots out to 600 and a couple bonus targets out to 900 yards.
Yeah.
And there was a giant spinner. You probably seen one in my last this week in 3 gun video. There's a spinner that we were supposed to shoot with our rifle, and it was only 150 yards away. And for this scope, that barrel, and me, that should have been, easy peasy. But I couldn't even hit the dang thing.
Nah, it was a faulty spinner. Who made the spinner? That's probably the problem.
It wasn't me. But I looked up, and my scope ring, my throw lever was like that, and I kind of thought, crap, and I just put it back down, but it didn't return to zero, and I still just couldn't hit that. So I had to take some serious penalty times on that stage. The next stage, I just popped it completely off, put it back on, because that's another thing this company's known for is return to zero. I put it back on, a couple shots, it was good. Then all of a sudden, that lever came back off. So that stage was trashed. Um, After that night, me and my buddy went to the sighting range, and we tried fixing it, got it all sighted back in. The very next day, first stage I went to happened again. So luckily, and I should have done this to begin with. I brought my backup AR, so I actually just put this gun aside, and the rest of the time I shot my backup AR, and that one ran great for me. But most of us in the AR uh, world, because I seen you just grab those 2-piece.
Yeah. So that's like I just bought these the other day, and the only reason I bought them, I don't like quick release. I can't see a real purpose for them in my mind. But I just purchased an ATN thermal, and I can't afford a second gun, so I bought the quick release scope ring so I can put my 3 to 9 times off, take that off, put the thermal back on. And I have serious concerns about not being able to return to zero. So I just was, when I seen you having problems, I was like, why have quick release if you don't need to take it off? Like, that's my question.
So I'm questioning that too, but I'm getting away. So the company, like I said, the big thing with these guys is the mount, but also these throw levers. That was the big thing for this company.
Yeah.
They told me they do have some, just like the bolts to eliminate these throw levers. So they're sending me out new bolts. So this mount won't have these throw levers on it anymore, because you're 100% right. 3 gun, I don't need to take that scope off. So I think in the American culture, at one point we all kind of started thinking, like, let's just say apocalyptic scenarios. I'm going to be in war, and I'm going to, the end of the world, whatever scenario you want to place there. A lot of our mentality was, at some point in my life, in my shooting career, my optic's going to go bad, and I'm going to have to pull that optic off and go back to iron sights. Hence, the backup iron sights that a lot of guys run on their rifles that they never use, right? So that's
Yeah.
that's a lot of mentality where some of this quick detach stuff comes from. Is I'm going to need to throw this off and go back to the old iron sights. You know, 3 gun wise, we're not using iron sights. Uh, So yeah, I'm done with all of my scope mounts except for one have these quick detaches. This is the only one that's caused me any issues, and it caused an issue when I needed it to, to be reliable for me, and it let me down. So I actually have a new scope mount coming Monday,
Yeah.
but I'm debating if I actually am going to use that because the mount's good. I just need to get rid of these throw levers, and with them replacing these bolts for me, I'm not sure what I'm going to do. If I'm going to use my new scope mount I just ordered, or stick with this one and just eliminate those quick release levers or not. I'm not sure what I'm going to do, but you're
Because what I
100% right. No reason to have quick release in my
because
opinion.
what I don't even like about these ones, right? These are just I can get them out actually. These these are just the Leopold ones, and these are, I don't think they're the cheapest ones, but well, certainly not here in Australia. But they're not that expensive. So they've just got the quick release here on the side. So for those that are watching,
Yeah, they actually rotate. They don't. Yep.
yeah. But what happens is you can actually lift this up and turn it around, and it's on a hex nut in there. So you can tighten it down and then lift it up and turn it so that it's like in like a vertical position, so you sort of know where it came from.
Uh-huh.
But there's actually no way for me to torque this down. Like I can't pop a torque wrench in there because that torque wrench, all it's doing is holding like this mechanism on. So I can only tighten it down by my hand until I go, that's tight enough, and then let it go. Like I can't get my fat wrench out and go, oh, that's 40 foot-pound of torque. And I look at that and I think the same thing. Like, can you put a screwdriver in from the other side and torque that screw down? Or you just got to go by feel and tight enough is tight enough?
Yep.
And so that to me, that's like I don't want to say it's a design error, but I feel like it's missing the point. Like
Yeah.
you
No,
talk about
no,
these long range shooters, and they you've got to have 6 torque pound on this one and 8 on this one, and do 20 on the ring ones, and then there's a quick release mechanism in there, just like ready to
yeah.
fail the whole time.
No, I'm with you. Before I would have said no, it's nice because let's just go the opposite way. Say budget wise, let's say a guy has 2 rifles, he can't afford multiple scopes, so he could buy a scope like this with a quick release and transfer that back and forth. That makes sense. But for what I'm doing, it makes absolutely no sense.
Yeah.
And you're right. I'm gonna get rid of those levers and just hard mount it. And yeah, then I can know if I'm gonna torque stuff down. Kind of if you look, I don't know if you guys do this stuff or not, but if you look, I got white marks. So I torque my
You can,
screws down and I
and you
mark
know if it's shifted. Yeah, we don't do that,
exactly.
but all the mine spec vehicles in Australia, they got like these yellow tags on the wheel nuts, and they face each other, so you can see if the wheel nuts coming loose. So
Yep.
that makes sense. Actually, that's something that I might actually do on my firearm. Actually, on the one that's using this, because I would like to know if it's coming loose. That's because it's a legitimate concern of mine. So that's a good point. I hadn't seen that before, but I'm not really in the competition circles where people that probably already doing that are doing it.
Yeah. Well, here's another thing I realized. I'm still editing that video from that 3-day shoot, but the one thing that really sucked was they had us, can't remember if it was 2 or 3 stages. They had us actually sling our rifles like on rifle slings.
Yeah,
So we had the rifle slung, carrying our shotgun and our pistol and all of our accessories on our belts, right?
yeah,
So that's just one more spot for your sling or something to get caught on.
yes, and that was my actual concern, because I'm using this for hunting, right? So I'm using the same gun that I'm walking through the bush and all that. And the one thing is, like, if you got like your backpack with like loops on it and stuff, you get caught in the twigs and the sticks. I was actually impressed with how low profile they were, that they wouldn't really get stuck. So yeah, I could see that. Like, it's everyone tries to make everything smaller and reduce weight, and it's like, oh, I've saved weight so I can make things bigger, and it's and I'm not trying to critique what you've done or anything like that, or what that company's produced, because obviously there's a market for it, otherwise people wouldn't buy it. But I'm one of those people that when I look at purchasing, say, my next firearm, I'm like, okay, what do I want the firearm for? Okay, I would like it to be for thermal shooting. Okay, so what is thermal shooting for me? Okay, I'm probably shooting off some shooting sticks. I don't want a white light, so I don't want a torch. So if I'm reloading the magazine, do I want to be able to just swap the magazine over, or do I just want to chuck more rounds in the chamber? If I've got a magazine, then I can't put them in the chamber. I have to put them in the magazine. So like, okay, so all right, well then maybe I want a gun that has, a fixed magazine in the firearm. So now I'm limited to, like maybe a Remington 700. I can't have a Tika because they got magazines only. But then how many rounds do I want to fit in the magazine? Do I just want 3 rounds, or do I want 7 rounds? And so I always go through this process of elimination of what my requirements are specifically for that. And like stuff like this to me always is like, I really don't need that. So I know it's interesting when I think people don't do enough of a breakdown of what the purpose of the equipment is sometimes.
No, you're exactly right, and a lot of people, I've been guilty of it too. You'll see someone shooting this, and oh, that's what I need. We don't do a lot of research sometimes. We just kind of follow the trends and whatever. And I think at one point, like I said, quick release was the big rave in America, and the more I'm around them, and after this instance, I'm like, it serves no purpose for me with the way I've got my rifles set up. They're not serving a purpose for me. So
I'm gonna give you a preview on something that I've been working on, and this is do you guys have brass goblins or range goblins in the US? Is that what you call them?
If you're talking about we call them range. If we're talking about the same thing, range chickens, and I may or may not be one. Let's see what you're talking about.
So I'm working on a shirt design, and it will be released by the time.
Go down.
Oh, sorry.
Down. Right there.
Can you see that?
Yeah. That's I'm that looks like me. Yes.
So I'll just show it to the other camera. So that's you probably can't see it very well there, but
no, I can see it perfectly.
That's Golem, and
Yep.
he's holding up it's supposed to be a 45 auto, 45 ACP. He's got like a tote full of some other shells there, and he's like, looking up there going, my precious. Now on his shoulder is a tattoo. So in Australia we have a gun club called SSAA, which is Sports Shooting Association Australia, and he's got a little. You probably can't quite see that, but it's a little, a love heart with.
Oh yeah, there you go. Perfect. That's perfect right there. Yep.
So it's a little subtle one in there because that's what we call like a FUD. Like would be they love their SSAA, so it's like little thing there. So
okay, yeah, I got it now.
I'm going to make that into a shirt. So, but they did a couple of things wrong, so I got to get them.
Well, let me know for sure, because I would love to pick up at least one of those shirts.
Look what he did for the shell. It's like it's like a bullet with a primer in the back.
I was gonna say it looks like something else too. Let the viewers figure out what that looks like.
Yeah. So anyway, that's something I've been working on, and I think that's pretty cool because it's sort of reloading specific as well. So.
Yeah, no, that's me. My philosophy is if I go to the range and I don't leave with more brass than I took, I'm doing something wrong.
So, I had a mate, actually VGNME or whatever his name is.
Yeah, you
from
tell
the
me
chat.
you tell me how to say that name, because
no
one will tell me.
I think it's just some initials. I know his name is Ed. That's what I know. So I don't know what the rest of it is. So I just call him Ed. But anyway, so he was telling me, this was like last week, he was at the range and he was shooting a 38 or something like that, or a 9mm. He said he shot the rounds at the range, boom, 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 and this old bugger just comes up And he is picking them up from at his feet, like while he's standing there. And he thought, I'll see if he gives them to me. And he said, he's standing there, and the guy just picked him up, just walked off. He said, it was like 15, 20 bays. There's only him and this one other guy. And this range goblin just comes up, picks him up from his feet, doesn't even ask if he can have him, and just takes off with all his brass. I was like, did you hit him up? I said, did you do that real awkward thing? He's like, no, I just had a good old laugh to myself and thought, wow, what an idiot. Like, so, you know,
that's the
we got him over
goblin right there, yeah.
Oh, yeah. So I was trying...
catching him out of midair, too, as soon as he's firing him out of his firearm, catching him.
He's standing in the right spot with his shirt open like this or something. Like, oh, put him in a shirt. Well, because what's interesting, I only just found out that brass catchers are actually legal in Queensland. I thought that they were highly illegal, because we're talking about before about my decision making on purchasing a firearm. Well, I was going to get a 223 7615, which is the pump action, Remington pump action in 223, and I was going to get the barrel swapped out or whatever, and get it changed to either a 350 Legend, or what I preferred was the 300 Hammer.
Yeah,
okay. With the Wilson Combat one.
Yep.
The reason for that was because I wanted to be able to get 223 cases, which you can essentially get for free, resize them, trim them, whatever I had to do, and then load them up into ammo that I could fire and afford to lose the brass. Because when you're out hunting the pigs in Australia, you're either walking, running, on a quad bike, on the back of a ute, and you don't have time to catch the brass. Like, brass is flying everywhere, pigs are running everywhere, and just a wall of lead is just going out there to try and put as many of them on the ground. And then I literally just found out I can put a brass catcher on there and I can use whatever round I want, because one of my guns I have at the moment is a 7600 35 Wheeling. Well, those shells are worth like 75 cents each. Like, you can't afford to be shooting them and not picking them up, you know. So now I can run a brass catcher on there. I can shoot whatever caliber I want. I don't even need to get this 7615. It's going to cost me $100 for the brass catcher instead of $1,500 for a new gun. So, but that would stop the brass goblins too if I had a brass catcher. So yeah, what I was going to ask you was, do you call them a brass goblin brass goblin or a range goblin? But what do you call it? A range chicken?
No, what the range goblin, that's all stuff we call, but we call the guys who come around picking up all the brass after you're done shooting. Yeah, we call them range chickens, because they're down like picking at the ground, like
picking at the ground.
Chickens.
Yeah.
Well, I would say what the guy you're describing, he's definitely a goblin or a troll.
Oh. I could just picture him looking up at VMGM, just going, "My precious."
Yep.
You know. So it was good fun. So I don't know. Yeah, it's been really good. I've been really enjoying watching the Reloading podcast, and you guys have made me buy so many things that I didn't know existed. Like, you can see here I've got like a RCBS rock chucker there, and behind it I've got the Lee All Load, which I'm actually yet to use, and they're all mounted on the inline fabrication quick release. I did find out about that from YouTube. So got the inline fabrication. I think it's the Ultra mount, the 6-inch one or whatever it is.
And I see on your right behind your shoulder there, that blue container. No, the blue container. You've got the inline fabrication bin.
Oh, that's actually the black one, because that's from things. Yeah, so I got all the bin covers. I got one on that one over there. I think I've got about 4 of those.
Yeah, those are nice.
You can't even buy these in Australia, so I have to. These, like you guys can just get them from anywhere, but this particular shape you can't get them, and so I had to buy them. It cost me a fortune in postage just to get the bins. And I went and bought the Hornady.
The comparators, yep.
Comparators. Got those. Got all the full kit of the Ogive ones as well, and all that sort of stuff like that. Trying to get my camera to focus on them, but yeah, got those as well. And
yeah, there's just some tools, like I was talking about on the last podcast. There's some tools I feel like as a reloader you just have to have, and for me, you can't even do reloading without calipers.
And then You know, this is some of the
entirely
crimson. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. So I got a fair bit of their stuff for the 750. You know, the quick release for the powder and all that. You know, I've got the inline fabrication primer tube holder.
Okay, so let's talk about
Got
what
their
you're
mirror
just
up
doing,
there.
what you're just talking about right now. Do you need all those extra things to reload? No, but you're already modifying your machine. Just like I was saying, we like to modify our firearms. Uh, Anything that we can do, we're just human. That's our nature. We just try to
Well,
improve and make things better. And you're proving that again by saying all the extra stuff you're purchasing for that 750.
well, that's right, and that's what I was saying. This is, I think, that's the nature of the reloader. The reloader loves to modify and do their own thing.
But then there is those fuds who are stuck in their ways and they won't modify exactly
on the Lee classic turret there. Can you see that one?
Yeah.
So because I got the that's the inline fab handles on both of those. Sure if you can see that.
Yeah. See, I like to be more modern on some things. I don't even pull a lever for the most part.
You don't have a handle on that thing.
No, 1050 with the Mark 7 auto drive on there. I just push some buttons and I sit back and it's like a little factory down here.
Man, that would be very nice. Well, I know that VMGM, I think he has a 1050. I'm pretty sure, and he's got like a lot of that cool stuff. But he's down in South Australia. Like I've never even been to South Australia, so I might have to take a trip down there at some stage to visit him and see his stuff. That'd be pretty cool. So, I mean, what's interesting is like I've only got one mate that's got a 650. You know, all my mates that I go hunting with, because hunting's what I'm really into. Man, they just buy factory rounds. You know, they don't care about, they don't change or modify anything. I'm a ringleader. Like I know one person in Townsville that's like 7 hours away, and he's the only person I know with a thermal scope. You know, and so like I'm like a pioneer as far as that's concerned. At least in my group of friends. I'm not saying.
Well, you know, but we kind of have the same type of stuff going on too. Like like I shoot competition wise. My son used to shoot with me 2 years ago. So that was double the ammo I had to have, right? So I can't afford to just buy stuff off the shelf for myself, let alone a second shooter, right? So the reloading really allowed us to, you know, go out and spend that time together and shoot this stuff. On the other side, you have guys who are only into hunting, right? And they'll maybe shoot 10 rounds a year. They'll go to the range.
See, that's where you know, like for me, hunting is pig hunting and a fair bit of culling. So I never just shoot like 1 or 3 rounds. Like that's really foreign to me. Like it'd be nothing for me to go and have shot 250 rounds for a weekend.
See, you're shooting way more than the average American hunter then, because up here, deer is what most people hunt, right?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
And then maybe elk, you know, but deer by far. And those guys, they'll literally go to the gun range, shoot a couple rounds to sight in their scope or check their scope, and then you know, harvest their animal, and then they're done for the year.
Yeah.
So.
But no, it is interesting because, like, you know, it's funny you say that because I watch all these videos of guys down in Melbourne, which is southern Australia, and they go fox hunting, you know, and they whistle up these foxes and they shoot the fox. And if they get like 1 or 2 foxes, they're like, yes, man, we had a really good weekend. Like, but here in Queensland, we just go out on the crops, spotlighting. Man, if you haven't shot a fox within the first 15, 20 minutes, you're not doing it right. You know, like, it'd be nothing for us to get like 20 foxes and just like not even take photos because it was just like, oh, they're just foxes. Like we're after the pigs, you know. So, man, there was one year there. This was when the season was really good. Man, we must have shot nearly 100 cats in 10 days. Like there were just cats everywhere. Cats, foxes. We probably shot like 150 foxes, 100 cats, and like 5 pigs. And we probably walked away with 5 photos of 5 pigs. You know, no photos of cats and foxes and that. So it's
See that right there is completely different from here.
Yeah, see, and that's what I'm starting to get an appreciation of is as I'm more and more watching stuff on YouTube, especially like even just watching like some thermal videos of the Texas guys there, and it was like ultimate night vision and Texas Hog, I think his name, or Jagged or something like that. There's a guy there that does heaps of stuff, and I was like, man, I think like our Queensland hunting is not like I feel like it's not like the rest of the country, let alone the rest of the world. Like it's really different. So, what's interesting is that Mike and Jim often joke about that you can't save money reloading, you just shoot more. But man, like my 350 Wheeland, for me to buy the ammunition for that in Australia, a box of 20 cost me $67.50. Okay, and that was back when the Aussie dollar was good. That's probably worth like $80 now. Now, I wanted 200 rounds to take hunting with me. Like that's like my minimum that I want to go with because what if I get into it like good batches of pigs? It'd be nothing for me to blow through 20 rounds in one go. There's $80 down range. Now I was able to buy 200 shells, the dies, the projectiles. I already had the powder, which is 2208, which I think is your Varget. I think that's the same powder. But I worked out the cost on the powder and the primers, including purchasing the dies and all the components. I saved $100 versus buying 200 rounds. So,
but then you're already set up for the next time. So the next time you've already got the dies, you've already got all that.
Already got the shells.
Yep.
Yeah, just goes right down. So so anyone that thinks that you can't save money, I think, but it just as soon as if you start going down the rabbit hole, then it costs you money. Then you're not saving money. So it's like I really didn't want to run my 223 through the 750. I was going to run all my 223 through the rock chucker because I wanted it to be like pretty on precision. But man, after using that for loading my 44 Magnum, it's like it's so quick. So I was using this for a lot of my brass prep. So I would just chuck the 223s in there, just run them through the decapping die. Run them through the decapping die, chuck them in the cleaner, and then then run them through there. And man, just even doing that saved me so much time because otherwise, all that whole process, I would have to run them through the the resizing die before I go. But
so how are you trimming them?
What I do is just measure them, and as long as they're under the maximum, so I measure them all, quickly measure them all,
Yep.
and then if they're under the maximum, then I'm good to go, because I'm not crimping. It's just all bolt action stuff, so I don't have to worry about the projectiles really coming loose or anything like that. And then I just toss those ones to the side, and then I just got the Lee quick trim that you put in the top of the press.
Yep.
I didn't like it. Actually, was trimming them too short there for a while because I didn't realize that you had to adjust it with the thing. But anyway, I got that sorted out. But yeah, and then I just got the hand chamfer thing and do that and chuck it back, and I clean them again after that. So because I don't have a dry tumbler, I've only got the wet tumbler. So that's why I end up buying you can't see it, but down there I've got the Lyman Cyclone food processor. What do you call it? The dehydrator.
The dehydrator.
And that was probably one of the best purchases I ever made because I was doing them in the oven and I left a couple in there for about 10 minutes too long and they come out black, man. They were like real black.
Trying to nail the whole case.
Yeah. But they're all right. I did test fired a few of them and they're fine. And you chuck them through the tumbler and they look as good as gold now. They literally look as good as gold. So
yeah.
So your spare rifle, is it as modified as that one, or is it just all the leftovers from the first one?
Yeah, it's kind of the leftovers. It's right here behind me.
Is that a Vortex Crossfire on there?
No, this is a little high end too. It's the Viper PST.
Okay, so that's like the one under the Razor.
Exactly. Yeah. So this was actually this is my son's. So yeah, basically the receiver set that mine started off with came over to him, But other than that, same thing. There's nothing else stock on his either. It's got, you know, different ambidextrous safety. He's got a nice billet grip on his, you know, nicer forend, a nice premium barrel on it, the nice scope. He's running the same scope mount that I had on mine, the exact same one. I've never had an issue with this one at all.
And is that the older one? Like, is it the one you've had for longer?
Yes. Yep. Because yeah, basically I used to run this scope, this mount on my original rifle, and then when I got that nice razor, I just popped this whole thing off, put it on this one here for him.
Can you show me that magazine release? How are you operating that? Is that what I'm looking at?
Oh, okay. Well, here's the magazine release right here.
Okay, what's the thing on the other side there?
This right here, all of my ARs have this. So we call them it's Battle Arms Development. It's called the bad lever. So let me just balance this thing here so I can show you. So yeah, this on a standard AR, just picture this knot here.
Yeah.
The mag catch and release is right here, or the bolt catch and release.
Okay. There. All right. Yep.
When we pull the charging handle back, we would normally have to reach up all the way.
Okay, with your index finger or something and push that.
And that's how you would lock it in, and same thing to release it. So the nice thing with these bad levers is you can just use your finger. So
okay, so normally okay, because I'm getting confused because I'm left-handed.
Exactly.
So normally you would reach back with your left hand and push that button?
Yep, you would. Yep, right hand's on the grip. You would pull everything back. It depends how you're doing it. There's a couple different techniques, but yeah, you would normally pull a charging handle back, and with this hand you'd kind of rotate up and lock this in. It's on this side.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So it's awkward. I don't like it. But the bad lever is really nice because bolts is shut right now. You can, I don't know if it's hard to see. Bolts shut. If you run your AR dry, it's automatically going to lock back on the last
Yeah, I
round.
understand that. Yep.
Okay, shove your magazine in, and your finger's already right here. You just hit that, right? That
yeah, okay.
Right there, and it drops the bolt. Same thing, if you need to pull the charging handle back, you can just use this lever with your finger and lock your bolt.
Okay, so that's like the button on the on like the slide of a Glock or a 1911 that you sort of push that.
Pretty much. But yeah, it's extended down. There's a couple of thoughts. People don't like to use their trigger finger for anything other than pulling the trigger. A lot of us use these bad levers. I've never, as long as you understand your firearm, you shouldn't be, if you're finicking around trying to figure out what you're doing, you need to just learn your firearm a little bit better.
Yeah, or have it in a safe direction is always a good start too.
Exactly, but yeah, this is ideal. I have them on every one of my ARs just because it's so convenient.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is what saved me for at least keep on shooting for the 3-day shoot, was having this extra rifle, and I almost didn't bring one. I didn't think I would need it. I brought an extra pistol. I have my 2011 I took with me, but I took an extra pistol just in case. I only had my one shotgun, but yeah, the rifle is what failed me, and it was a lesson learned.
Yeah. So do you quad load your shotgun?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you got like a chest pack or something with that, or on the belt?
Yeah, on the belt. I have two shell caddies that hold 12 rounds, each caddy, so I can carry 24 on me.
Yeah.
And my shotgun holds 14.
So that's like that quad loading doesn't really happen in Australia much. I think it does in some, but the big one in Australia is that tube with the thing that you run the.
Yeah.
I know you guys got them.
Yeah, there's a couple guys running those, and I've seen them mess up quite often with that. I've seen a couple guys try shoving their whole tube in, and then all of a sudden all the rounds come flying back out.
Yeah, yeah.
Or some guys have even went to chuck their thing and actually chucked their whole. Because what you're talking about, it basically has a
It's got like a loading dock, and you got to like drive it into the dock.
exactly. But there's
And
also that you got the tube, and I can't remember if there's an extra piece on that tube that has like
yes,
a handle on it.
yeah. So the handle, like, so the tube's here, and that handle slides up through a groove in the tube, and then that drops on the ground, I think, and
Drop,
you just
yep. I've seen
toss
those
that as
come
well.
apart, throwing shells everywhere. Uh, Honestly, I have a. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Sega. Are you guys familiar with Segas? Like from Russia, the actual like
Oh, is that like with
AKs?
the box magazine on it?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I
I
have a
think they.
Sega 12 gauge, and it has a magazine. I have a couple 12 round magazines for it, and
Yeah,
then
because they're the ones you can get the big drum on it and all that sort of
exactly.
stuff. Yeah.
Yep. So you know exactly what I'm talking about. So mine's I got one. It's been heavily modified. It's about $5,000 shotgun, right?
Wow.
I
Yeah.
actually prefer to quad load. So I don't even use that Sega anymore. I actually prefer it's funner to me to quad
I
load.
I love the idea of the quad loading. So
Yeah.
what's funny is I don't have the caddy, so I don't have the ability to actually do the quad loads. But man, I'll always at least double load. Like I'll grab the two shells and I put them in, and even on my little lever action shotgun, I still went in, modified my port so I could, and I just found that modifying the port there, I stopped cutting my thumb on the
Yep.
sharp edges that were around that. So I really like that. And the funny thing is because I'm left eye dominant but right handed, right? So I shoot and I can just go like that, and I actually can load with my dominant hand. So I'm like, it's really good for me because whereas you would probably most of the time want to load with your left hand. Is that
Yep.
the case, or do you
That's what
swap
I do.
hands?
No, there's
Yeah,
a lot of different techniques, but I actually prefer some guys like you're talking about, they'll shoot and then they actually roll it up on their shoulder and
yeah, and
use
go
their
from the
dominant
top. Yeah,
hand. Yep. And then shove with their dominant hand. I don't know why. I find it easier for me to shoot and then roll it over and tuck it under my armpit here, so the
yeah,
port is up. Then with my uh, left hand, I start grabbing shells off and shoving them into my loading port. But if you guys want to go over and check out some of the videos, I try to show me shooting and then at least another shooter a lot of the times shooting the same course of fire. And when I'm filming, I really try to at least get in there and show like the quad loads and stuff. And it's pretty difficult to do. You can't just pick it up. It's hard to learn how to do that. But I think it's important to show the viewers what we're doing and get close-ups of some of this stuff that we're the fine motor skills and the more technical stuff versus standing back at a distance and just showing some guy running around shooting stuff. I try to get in there and show how he's actually grabbing shells, and most of the time it's my friends I'm filming, and they're dropping shells all over the place. They're hardly ever doing it perfectly and smoothly,
no,
but
but I think that you're right, because for me, as someone like, so I'm in Australia, and I watch some of this content. It really frustrates me to watch like 3-gun and that, because we can't have ARs, we can't have the semi-auto stuff like that. So I love the smaller details that it's like, can I apply that to my shotgun? So for example, like I don't know, I was watching like the X-Rail magazine.
yeah,
I don't know if you've seen that one, and it like rotates and it rotates again,
yep,
and I was like, oh man, that's so cool. And it was just watching that, then I got onto this, modifying the port for quad loading, and I'm like, what's quad loading? Like, why am I modifying my port? Like, I don't even know what quad loading is. And then I get into quad loading, I'm like, oh my goodness, this is amazing. I can use that for my lever action shotgun. And then of course off the back of that, then they start talking about swapping out the follower, so it's got a
follower,
red,
yep,
so it's red, so you can see when you're on your last round. I'm like, I can use that for hunting. Like that's really cool. And so I purchased something off Brownells America to get it posted over to me, and cost me like 4 times the amount of the stuff, and and get a new spring, and then it's like, and so there's all these little things that, and then I see ghost loading. I'm like, ghost loading. What's ghost loading? And then it's like I find out that if you manipulate it, you can have a round, come back on the lifter. But then I had my Adler, and I'm like trying to get it on the lifter, and it wouldn't do it. And then all of a sudden, someone posts on Facebook. He's like, "Oh, here's my Adler doing ghost loading." And I'm like, how do you? But then because it's a Turkish-made shotgun, the tolerances in them are like really bad. So a very small number of them can ghost load by accident. And so I actually went and purchased some parts to modify to then make mine ghost load. But it's one of those things with doing YouTube and hunting and all that. I haven't had time to modify it to make mine ghost load. And like I sort of, and to go a little bit political, one of the reasons why I wanted to ghost load was like, oh, you won't let me have a 5-shot magazine? Well, guess what? I'm going to make it a 6-shot anyway, just by, just to prove I can, because it's just, but that's what I love. I love, like, you can watch these videos and go and see the guy reload. It's like, man, that guy only put like 2 rounds in there. How can he fire 4 shots off 2 rounds? Because you don't see the little intricate details. It's like,
exactly.
And that's why I love watching or listening to the reloading podcast, because there's just these little tidbits that you don't realize you're doing wrong until someone talks about it, and it's like, oh man, why have I been doing it that way for so long? And and it's like, unless you're having the conversations all the time, in Australia here, it's easy for me to just be doing my reloading all the time on my own, reading the packaging that comes with the dies, and just like doing it. And it's like, like I've had an issue where I think you can see the targets in the corner there, and I turned one into a clock.
Yep.
I cannot get those groups to shrink. I tried moving the projectile closer to the lands. I tried different load developments, and and then it's like, is my table too wobbly? Is my are my scope rings too loose? Is my and I'm trying to eliminate all this stuff like that, and then it's like, and then all of a sudden I had a click, like I was like, oh, you know what? Maybe my gun's just not good for 55 grains. So that's why I went and bought the 67 or whatever they are. I think they're 69 grain. But I haven't done a load development with those yet, because I still got heaps of these ones I got to shoot out. So
yeah, that's the whole point of reloading, though. You and your buddy could have a rifle made one right after the other, and your rifle and his rifle like completely different loads. That's part of the good and the bad of reloading. Is you got to get out there and try a whole bunch of different stuff. And the average guy, they'll just go buy their rifle, go buy whatever they factory ammo from the store, and that's what they got. But us reloaders, we can kind of fine tune everything and get it dialed in right where we kind of feel like we're happy with.
Yeah, or just keep chasing ourselves, trying to improve something that do I need it to shoot more accurate than that? No. But I want it to,
exactly. Because we get a little obsessive compulsive, don't we?
So and I guess, like, I think you have watched a few of my videos, and maybe you don't like the content that I did. So I did one was, will changing your primers swap your point of impact, and I had another one shooting from different cases, and I found that the groups were the same.
Exactly. No, I've definitely watched the primer video. We've had a lot of discussions recently on like annealing. Does it make a difference? Same thing. Some guys talk about primer pocket, uniformity, flash hole deburring. We had Whedon Gunworks on one time, and he talked about how he went through some steps checking some of that kind of stuff, and did it make a difference? And in his opinion and his experience, it didn't make a difference.
Yeah, I listened to that, and that's what I found really interesting. And and I think that's what's but I guess what I was trying to do with some of my videos was dispel a little bit of the myths. Now, I do know for a fact that my 308, which is probably a higher pressure cartridge, when I start mixing my cases with them, they start going wild. Like, I'm not getting the same results that I'm getting with that 223.
Yeah, because you're getting different case capacities, all that kind of
Yeah,
stuff. You're
and it has,
changing.
and so I'm going to actually do a video on that because it's kind of almost a rebuttal of my own video that sort of proves that what I said is wrong. Um, but like, and what's funny is like I've got two mates that they both started reloading, and they both just got the gunpowder, got the projectiles. What's the maximum? Filled it up, put it in. One of them was getting like a 50 centimeter grouping, or like a foot and a half, and he's going, "What's going on?" "Oh, I'm going back to factory rounds. This is stupid." And then my other mate, he was getting like 10 centimeter groupings, and I was like, "Dude, did you do your load development?" Yep. I did my load development. I just was like, "Oh, okay, he's done his load development." I was like, "Oh, maybe your barrel's burnt out, maybe this and that." And then something happened. And I said, "Tell me about your load development." And he's like, "Oh, well, I just got the book out, saw what the maximum was, and I loaded the maximum." I was like, "No, that's not how you do a load development. Like, you got to do, from 25 grains, 25.2, 25.4." And he went back and did that. Obviously, ended up winding it right back, and now he's getting groups better than mine, which is
Yeah,
really
but that's
frustrating.
that's now you're going down the rabbit hole, because then we can talk about, you got to do your load development, and then once you kind of find your nice groupings, then you start going off of the lands, how far, how close, then what, there's so many different things you can sit there and focus on to really get that round tailored to your rifle. And yeah, but yeah, there's a lot of steps. You can't just start picking random things out of a recipe book and thinking it's going to be the end all.
But that's like, I guess that's what's the exciting part about it all is the ability to tune and change and all that sort of stuff like that. Like, just with exactly with the firearm, there's so many different things you can do with the cartridge. But like, an interesting thing that I've always had is like, once you start to pull the projectile out to cover the lands, you're changing the engine room. Like, the capacity is
Exactly.
now different. And I could never understand. They're like, "Oh yeah, that doesn't have any effect on it." It's like, of course it has some effect on it. That would be like seeding the bullet deeper. Like, you, you've now got it,
You're
instead of it being.
increasing. Yep.
And it just frustrates me that they, then they go and change the lands, but then they don't do another load development at the different lands thing. But obviously guys have been doing it for long enough that they would know whether that really had any impact. But I feel like maybe no one's actually thinking about it either.
Yeah. Well, like I say though, a guy doing his load development, let's say he picks 55 grain projectiles and whatever powder, that rifle might not even like that powder whatsoever. And then he gets frustrated because he can't get the groupings he want. When the bad thing is, you might have to try several different powders to find what that rifle actually, prefers.
Yeah, well, and I guess that's what comes back to that right at the start of when we started the video, and I said to you, like, I would like to know, what powder should you have in what length barrel, like, because all these Tika T3s, for example, which are really popular in Australia, well, they come in a 20-inch barrel, and they also come in a 24-inch barrel. Well, you can't tell me that both those barrels should be running the exact same powder, because you've got more length. You could run I guess, a slower burning powder over the longer barrel, which would probably give you a more accurate round, all that sort of stuff like that. But I feel like that information is really not readily available.
Now, and
But
and the other thing you have to look to, in most of the books, they're only, the test barrels they use, if you look, are generally 22 to 24-inch barrels, longer barrels. A lot of us, this right here is an 18-inch barrel. Some of our ARs are 16-inch barrels. Those
yeah,
don't translate over, just like you're saying. Yeah, they don't tell
but
you
yeah,
that info.
but I think that there's so many people that just don't start at the basics. Like, I think, as if someone wants to start reloading, the minimum is a load development of a range of powders, 5 rounds per powder or per weight, and go and shoot them. If that's
I
the
agree.
least you're going to do, that's fine. I think that's perfectly acceptable, and you can get exceptional results with that. Like, you don't need to go and play around with the lands and all that sort of stuff like that. I think you're just I said, I did that. I played with the lands, and I didn't get any results. It literally was the same. I could have had it all the way in, all the way out, and you wouldn't even know I mess with it. So it is really interesting. And so I think I'll be forever chasing my tail with that. So anyway, it's probably getting late where you are, I'm assuming. So I don't want to keep you going if you're not keen. So I really appreciate you coming on the channel, Travis. It's been really good. It's been interesting for me because I guess I did probably think that maybe the shooting sports is a lot bigger than I thought it was. Maybe it's fairly similar to what it is in here in Australia. Like obviously you've got more people, so there's obviously going to be more shooters.
Well,
But
yeah,
I do
yeah,
think,
like we obviously have something you guys don't, and that's the Second Amendment. That's getting challenged every day here in America now. So that's a tough thing for all of us gun-loving Americans is the everyday fight we have to go through to keep our Second Amendment. And we're the only country that has that. You guys, you don't have that Second Amendment right. You're beholden on just being allowed to do what you're doing.
yeah,
Um,
they always say that that like for us it's a privilege, which it isn't, because a privilege is restricted to an elite few. That's in my mind.
yeah.
But yeah, it's they're always whittling away at our laws, and it's funny. I used to get really bent up on it, and this is really interesting. I think this is really interesting. I watch a guy called Hunting with Stu. He's an Australian shooter, and he goes away for a weekend, like a 4-day weekend, and he will shoot. Him and his mates will shoot like 100 pigs. Right, really good shooter. If he fires 4 shots, pretty much 4 pigs will go on the ground, and they'll all be headshots, all be chest shots, and really good. And then I watch a lot of these thermal night vision videos of these guys with these AR-15s and stuff like that. They're sneaking up on the pigs. They're within 30 meters, 20 meters of the pigs. They got an AR-15, so they already know where the pigs are, right? Stu is walking along, and they're jumping up out of the grass, and they're running. So the first pig is already on the run before he's shooting. These guys with their thermal scopes, AR-15s, on a tripod, they know where they are. They fire the first shot. Man, they don't shoot anywhere near the amount of pigs as this Hunting with Stu. And I literally realized yesterday, I was like, I'm too fixated on I need an AR-15 to shoot more pigs, when the reality is I just need to be a better shot, because if you're hungry for it, you'll make it happen. Like, and Stu, he shoots, drops the gun, racks the bolt, lifts it back up, shoots. I just think it's like...
No, well, you're also going right back to the way a lot of our politicians and stuff here in America think that they call these black rifles the deadliest. They think they're more deadly than they are, and you're just proving it's not the gun, right? It's the shooter.
It's this 100%.
Exactly. So just because this rifle here has the ability to hold a 30-round magazine doesn't mean it's any more deadly than a bolt action that can only hold 5 rounds. And a lot of those bolt actions that only hold 5 rounds, the caliber is a much more deadly round than this little tiny 223, right?
That's right, yeah.
It's all comes down to skill. And that's what kind of gets annoying. Like I say, you guys don't have it, but them arguing about how many rounds are we allowed to have. I kind of always thought in Australia, you guys were only allowed to have like single shot rifles.
So we can have...
That's not the case.
So we can have in a lever action or pump action rifle up to a 10-round magazine, and in a bolt action up to a 15-round magazine. In a category A, which is shotgun and rimfires, non-semi-auto, unlimited magazine capacity. So, and I find that really interesting when, we haven't really talked much about hunting in the US, is, a lot of the hunting over there, because it's in state forest, and I could be wrong, you're restricted to like 2-3 magazine, 2 to 3 rounds in a magazine, whereas, we go out there, 15, 10 round mags, and blast away. And it's I guess a bit of a misconception there of what people can do. So
Yeah, I say there's a lot of rules, regulations, and laws that if we sit down and had a real conversation, make no sense. You know, barrel length here in America, short barreled rifles, they're an NFA item. They're restricted. We have to pay a tax, a $200 tax stamp to even possess those. And then those firearms are actually registered. All these other firearms, they're not registered to,
yeah,
NFA items are registered. They know who has those. A short barreled rifle, it's not more deadly than this 18-inch rifle I have right here. In fact,
it's slightly more concealable at best.
exactly. But in Canada, Canada has some pretty strict gun laws. They don't have a barrel length restriction.
Yeah. Well, so we do here in Australia 750 mil overall length. That's the restriction. Unless it's a Category D firearm, then it can be as short as it wants. So anyway, that's I guess that's another story. But I guess what I was saying is, like I was really fixated on trying to get like a contract shooting license and all that sort of stuff like that. It's like nah, I just need to get shooting better, and I need to find better properties with more pigs. If I want to shoot more pigs, the reality is there's been hardly a time where, I've seen a mob of 50 pigs, and we're with some mates with some dogs, and we got 2. And I was like, man, if I had my shotgun on the back of the ute, then I could at least smoke like 10 of them. But it's just one of those things where you got to deal with what you got. So, but yeah, it's just interesting that I think you can be obviously way more effective with your tools if you practice and if you know how to use them and if they're set up right for you as well and all that sort of stuff like that. So I don't know. Yeah, it's just really, really interesting, but it's really exciting. And now that I'm doing more hunting, because now I've been because so as I mentioned before, I'd have to drive like 8 hours. Now I only got to drive an hour 15 hour, whatever. And I'm going every fortnight, whereas before I was going once a year, twice a year, and now I'm going out all the time. And of course I'm going to get way more game. Of course I'm going to get much better on the trigger because I'm just out there.
Yep, you're out there actually pulling it. Yeah, you're out there doing it.
So
that's the same thing with me. I mean, I could just because all these clubs are, most of these clubs I go to for 3-gun stuff are fairly close. I got one that's 30 minutes away. We got one that's 45 minutes away, and then we have one that's 2 hours away. And then this last 3-day event, it was 4 hours away. If I had to drive every week to one that's 4 hours away, I wouldn't be shooting as much as I am. But because things are more local and you make a little community, you want to go see your friends, you want to go hang out. We get to go have fun. And that's ultimately for me, I'm not like some people, no matter what they do in life, are super competitive, Most of us are just there to have a good time.
We call them gamers at the cowboy shooting. It's like, he's a gamer. Yeah, and it's the same with the hunting. Like for me, I would have a much better time out there with some good guys, not get anything, than being out there on my own and getting the most pigs I've ever shot. Like, it's all about who you're out there shooting with, the conversations you have, sharing the experiencing, showing each other your guns or all that sort of stuff like that. And that's what it's all about. Like, you wouldn't drive to the 4-hour competition if it was just going to be a bunch of jerks who are going to be out there.
Exactly. By myself, no, nope.
So, that's what's really cool. All right, Travis, I think we might pull it up there. I don't even know how long we've been talking for. It's probably like 1 o'clock your time, and you probably want to get to bed. And
it's 11:30.
Oh, I do apologize for keeping you up that late.
No, we're good. I wouldn't be going to bed, yet anyway. So.
But you might have the 1050 running.
I do need to get making some more projectiles here.
Yeah, I'll do some casting. I leave that to my dad. My dad does all the casting. So
are you guys powder coating?
Nah, I'm Alox Nation.
No,
Hashtag.
You should have told me that before you should have said that before I agreed to come on.
Yeah, but I posted hashtag Travis Rocks. Surely that sort of
No, I've seen
outweighs.
that, but yeah, we gotta change that. Why aren't you powder coating?
I'll tell you why I'm not powder coating, and it's pretty simple. I don't have a toaster oven, and
You don't have like a $12 toaster oven. That's your excuse.
well, it's a $25 toaster oven in Australia, and then of course I've got to go buy the powder coating. Now the powder coating is not as readily available here in Australia, I think, as you guys can get it over
No, but
there.
what
So
about? Here's another alternative, and I know it's from Australia. The high tech coating.
I have seen the high tech coating, but you still got to put that in the oven though, don't you? And that
Yes.
stuff's pretty expensive. So I don't know. I just feel like it's another step. Whereas like at the moment, all I do, I got like a little chocolate container in there. You know, I put like 100 thing in there, screw the lid on,
Yeah, I'm disgusted.
and then I get sticky stuff all over my fingers. But I don't care because it's like whatever. It's done and dusted. So I know. I I really like the idea of powder coating. I think it's a game changer. I do think it's really good. But at the
It
same time,
honestly is.
I'm not doing enough reloading to justify powder coating the projectiles. Like I'm only doing when I was cowboy shooting every month, I was only doing 100 rounds every month. So I could do that in like 5-10 minutes. You know, like so it was pretty quick. Whereas the powder coating, if you're doing small quantities like that, obviously it's going to take a lot longer. So
It's
you
gonna
know,
take yeah, it's gonna take the same amount of time basically to do 100 of them or 10 of them.
or 1,000 of them. Yeah, that's right.
Exactly.
So for me, it's just, and I just don't have the space for more equipment. I'm in a 2 bedroom house. You know, my wife's. I pretty much stole this whole room off of my wife. You know, from the whole house, and it's just all reloading equipment. And I'm supposed to have the spare bed, but it's all folded up. And so I just don't have space for another toaster oven. There, you know, maybe you can see space there for it,
Well,
but
we'll
I
we'll
can't.
have to fix that one day. You need to at least try it out because yeah, I used to use Alox too long time ago, and I hated it. Jim Jim and I always fight about this. He's hardcore Alox. He's stubborn. He's never going to change. And I've gone down all the roads, and I've seen the light, and I know powder coat is my savior, and I am beholden to powder coating, uh,
What color do you do? That's what I want to know.
whatever color I feel like.
Fair
I
enough
use
then.
you can get I got right now. I'm still because I'm not gonna. I don't see a need to just like be bougie and switch up colors to just for the heck of it. So I'm just using up, picking a color and using it till it's gone, then switching over to another one. So
So
right
what's your
now,
current color? What are you currently using?
uh, green.
Green. Nice.
I was using blue before because I bought and powder coating will last you a long time. So I'm getting like basically like peanut butter jars.
Yeah.
That's how full the containers are. That'll do thousands and thousands and thousands. It could be 10,000 rounds. I don't know. I haven't kept track. I should, but I went through one of those in blue and switched over to green. I've got red, purple, and black to go. To keep me going.
Yeah.
Um, I just really think, like you said, powder coat's a game changer. It's the poor man's plating.
Oh yeah, and it's a DIY. I guess that's the real thing there as well. So, um, but yeah, that's all for me. It's just the it's not the cost. It's just the space and the time that I just can't justify at the moment. So, you know, I barely got time to do the reloading as it is. Like normally, I go shooting on a Friday night for the cowboy shooting. Thursday night, 12 o'clock at night, my wife's trying to sleep, and I'm just out here going, smashing the handle on this thing, and it's
Yep.
the
You
the
know,
case feeder up the top.
powder coating wise, I started off with one toaster oven, and then I went to two toaster ovens. I think I was could fit 300 projectiles in a toaster oven. So then I went to two toaster ovens. I could do 600. Now I've went and purchased. I've got it was an in wall oven, for your house. Two racks. I can do almost 2,000 projectiles in there at a time. So
Could you fit another rack in there? Could you do like 3 racks?
uh, possibly the thing only has two racks, so I just use what the two racks that are in there.
Maybe you need to find like a tray that can slide in there so you can just do more rather than get more ovens. Just put more racks in there.
Well, this big oven doing 2,000 at a time, it's kept me going because I'll actually, when I cast, I try to at least get 1,000 projectiles. Anything over 1,000 is better, but I try to do at least 1,000 per casting session. And I want to just start because honestly, I haven't done any casting in quite a while because I've switched over to Accurate Outdoors plated projectiles.
Is that show us your hat? Did tip the hat down?
Yeah,
Yeah, cool.
these guys. I actually editing a video right now. I'll post it probably tomorrow. I got to do a factory tour of their facility and see how they actually make their projectiles, and it's
Yeah, you mentioned that on the podcast. You said they even cast their own lead wire and everything. Like that's
yeah, it's
impressive.
actually amazing. It's really impressive. Yeah, they get in the ingots. They order in a special alloy to their specifications, and they melt those ingots down. And they have one guy who's been making lead wire for like 20 something years. And they say when he's on vacation, it's hard for him because he's so good at it. He makes it the right diameter that they need, and yeah, they take the wire, they run it through their sizing dies. So the nice thing that Acura does that I was impressed with is they size their projectiles twice. A lot of other companies only size it the one time, so they take the wire, run it through their sizing machine that actually gets the profile of their projectile, and it's sized to their specific, diameter. They run that through their plating setup, and then they'll run that back through another sizing and quality. And every single step they go through, they have a human there checking the quality of every single step. There's a human hand actually picking these all out and checking the quality of all these. But it was really interesting, and like I said, I'll have that posted hopefully tomorrow.
Yeah, that's what you want. For me, I think more competition, as in like more projectile manufacturers. I think that raises the bar.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Like if you got more people making high quality stuff, then it's like everyone's like, oh well, if they're doing something, we need to do something to step our game up. So generally, I think nothing but benefits come from new players in the game doing new things. And I think that's always really good and exciting. And I do like getting behind new companies, and it's always good to buy local as well.
Yeah, they're local, and then the nice thing is they're not a big company either. I think there's maybe 10 or 12 employees there. So they're a small company, and they're putting out high quality stuff.
Yeah, and so this is all copper jacketed, like hollow point, soft
plated.
point.
Yep.
So it's pistol stuff, is it?
Yeah, they did come out recently with some 300 blackout projectiles, some 120 grains, and 200 subsonic projectiles. But yeah, it's awesome stuff. I've got a little stockpile of their stuff, and I've been so happy with their stuff. I haven't cast and powder coated, and gosh, I couldn't tell you the last time I fired up the oven. I look at it all the time thinking, when's the last time I actually cast anything? But I want to stockpile up some more of my because I enjoy it. It's another hobby. You got reloading, and then casting is a complete other hobby in itself.
To be honest, I would much rather get into casting than get into powder coating. Like that's where my priorities would be. Like I would love to go get like the I think was you recommended to me to get the I've got it written down here. Is it the RCBS? The Pro Melt? What's that one?
That's the RCBS. I have the Lineman. Can't remember what it's called. The Lineman T-Mag, or that's what I run.
Yeah, one of those ones anyway. That's what I would love to get that. But I mean, that to buy that here in Australia, that costs a fortune. I think it's like $900 at the moment.
Wow.
And then you still got to go buy the dies, and I'd probably have to get the like NOE ones from the States, and then pay a fortune for the postage plus the Aussie dollar exchange on it. Like it's pretty killer. So, but I do actually need to buy some new dies anyway, because my dad's He just runs the old. He's got like coal in a thing with pumping air through it, and he's like just this big old school thing and puts it in there till it heats up, and then he just pours
Ladle.
that
Yep. Ladle
top.
pours them.
Yeah, top pours them from the from the thing, and man, some of them are rubbish. But I think he's burnt the molds. I think he's actually fried them, and like they're not cutting off clean anymore. There's dags coming off the top of them, and
Yeah, that's the most important thing. You got to take care of those molds. You take care of them.
so I'm a little bit. I'd love to go and buy some NOE molds, but I feel like he would just cook them as well.
Yeah, you better do
So
that. But a lot of guys actually do the ladle pouring, but yeah, you don't want to because I don't know if you're using steel, brass, or aluminum molds, but yeah, you
just the
gotta be
Lee aluminium. He wants the 6 banger because he wants to be able to do as many as possible. But I think that's part of the problem is he needs to go to a smaller one and just take a bit more time. But he reckons he doesn't have enough time. But he's retired and that's all he does. So
no, I'd go with the 6 because I use some of the Lee 6 cavities. I'd go with the 6 and just don't overheat them
yeah.
because you can
See,
you can warp them.
the problem is too though that they're not the right size because I think I need what is it 4.431, and I'm pretty sure these are casting out at 0.29. Well, and then I run them through. I've got the
Yeah, the Lee.
the lead the lead push through
Yep.
one, but that's too small for my 44 Magnum. But I'm not. I don't think I'm getting any leading. I don't know if I'm getting any leading. I can't say I've experienced it, but with 4.5 grains of trail boss, they're not. It's not probably catching on fire as they're going down range. It's almost just the primer pushing the projectiles out. So, so I'm not too concerned about that. But yeah, it's just one of those things where I probably to do it properly, I need to go get the NOE ones at the 4.431 or whatever it is. But and then you've got to buy the proper dies to resize them after you've cast them, and it's like, where do you stop?
I say it's a whole nother hobby.
Yeah, and it's got a whole another rabbit hole, doesn't it?
It's too bad. Yeah, it's too bad. It's so expensive to get that stuff in Australia because being more self sufficient like that seems like it would be a perfect fit for you guys, where you don't have to rely, on certain aspects of what's going on.
Yeah. So, we got a couple. There is a local mob that does a bit of casting called Hawkesbury River or something like that. It's up there. Yeah, Hawkesbury River bullets. They're not too bad, but you do pay a fair bit. I think it's about $80 or $90 for 400 or 500, depending on the weight. So, it's still obviously a lot cheaper than shooting the copper stuff, but you can't do that cowboy shooting anyway because close silhouette stuff. They don't want the copper.
Exactly, the jackets coming back at you. Yeah. Then I don't know what the lead supply is like in Australia. That'd be another thing. I imagine it's not the best.
I don't. All the guys that do their own casting, I haven't heard any real complaints. But like my dad's been, so many people know that he's casting. Like people give him like he picked up a heap of the dive belt weights.
Yep.
So stuff like that, and then he picking up in Australia we've got all the Queenslanders which is a type of house. They have the corrugated iron roof, and originally they were stuck in with a nail with a lead head, and so he picked up all the lead head nails from around under the house from when the house got moved, and they replaced all the screws in the roof, and just there's so many different sources of lead, and then one of his mates had like all these lead sheets from the old plumbing and all that sort of stuff like that. And, back in the day he was melting down batteries and all that. But he's like, I'll never do that again. He goes, it's so much work for no lead.
For hardly, exactly. I tried that one time.
So, but he, every time he goes snorkeling, he'll just like take sinkers, man. He'll like, walk away with like a kilo of sinkers. Maybe it's only like 50 or 60 bullets, but that's 50 or 60 bullets you don't have to find the lead from somewhere else as well. So I don't know, he's not run out of lead yet. And then because he was casting for my father-in-law as well, so my father-in-law, he's a massive cowboy shooter. My dad does the cowboy shooting with us as well. My dad does hunting, but my father-in-law hasn't done hunting for like 30 years, but he did in the past. But he's the range officer for the cowboy shoot, so you know it's pretty cool. So me, my dad, my father-in-law, we all go out there and have a bit of a shot. So that's pretty good. But so my dad was casting for him as well, and so then of course whenever he finds lead, he's giving it to my dad. So it's about probably 4 or 5 people giving him lead, and he's only having to give the projectiles to 3 of us. So it's a pretty good deal. So, and I don't have to do anything. So, you know, while they're still coming out the end of the gun, I'm a bit hesitant to fork out the big bucks to go and set up the casting setup as much as I'd like to. It's not about to happen, I don't think so. Unless I could pick up a sponsor, which ain't going to happen anyway. So that's all right. So, all right, I'm thinking it's getting a bit late for you, and I'm actually got to put my vehicle back together so I can get out to a hunt this afternoon. So I've got electrical wires hanging out everywhere because I decided to install all this electrical equipment. So, what do you want to say to the viewers and the subscribers? I know you've got your little what are your taglines that you say in the Reloaded podcast?
I always forget one, so I just say random stuff all the time. But no, the only thing is, I guess I would say is just we all enjoy this sport. Doesn't matter what it is, as long as we're pulling the trigger, right?
That's right. And have you got anything special you'd like to say to the Aussies?
Really putting me on the spot here. I don't, unless you know a little secret I'm supposed to say, but
No. It's funny because you know I showed you the shirt design. I want to make a shirt that's like just says Australia. So you know how you guys America like MER. So we say STRAYA, Australia.
Australia, yeah.
And I sort of want to do like a rifle over the head or something like that. Like so you know how you got all your classic AR-15s. And I want it to be like a bolt action with the bolt hanging out the end, like you know, just like.
Holding it above your head like the Jabberwockies on Star Wars.
Yeah, what's the what do they call the like in Africa they call it a technical where it's like a Toyota Hilux with like the you know the big like the 50 cal machine gun on the back, and they got like the dudes with the things hanging off their heads and all that. I can't they got like a name for them, but like yeah, it's like like a Jabberwocky or something. I don't know, but with a bolt action, of course, just like simplifying it for us simple Aussies. So, all right. But I always say I've got my little saying is I just go, guys, get out there, get in the sun, have fun, get them big boars. That's for the tusks of the boar, you know, like. Get them big boars. No one else does it. I'm just trying to make it catch on. If I do it enough, someone will think it's funny. And one day, hopefully, if I'm driving down the street, I'll see like another Hilux go past, maybe with a spotlight on the roof. Do you guys don't have that, do you? Do you have like the center-mounted spotlight in the roof that you can turn like this? Oh man, you guys, that's classic Australian hunting. Is like you get like a single cab Land Cruiser and you drill a hole through the roof, and then you put a big 9-inch spotlight on the roof on a handle, and you can turn like this, and then you shoot out the window, right? So that's some guys got like forward fold down windows so you can shoot out the front window.
Yeah, we can't even shoot out of a vehicle unless it's like on private property.
Well, we're only shooting on private property pretty much anyway, so I think it's the same in the state forest hunting in New South Wales. Anyway, so I'm just waiting for the day where I'm like drive down the street and then like see some like, you know, a Hilux or I think you call them a Viago? Or is it a Toyota Hilux?
I'm not familiar with any of these.
What's the vehicle that Phil had, that pickup? What was that?
Oh, a Toyota Tundra?
Oh, that's okay. That's like the next size up. It's the one under.
It's like a woman's. Yeah, that's a woman's vehicle, right?
Yeah, they over here though they're big. You can't get like a F-250. Like you know, that's a rich person's car. Anyway, I'm just waiting for the day that I see someone and just someone's gone, yeah, big ball, down the road. So, but anyway, guys, don't forget, Olight Australia is supporting the channel, and as a result, you the listeners, you the watchers, you guys get to reap the rewards. So if you'd like to support me, I'd tell you to get on board, go get yourself an Olight product. They have given us an exclusive 10% off by using the link in the bottom of the video, or in the show notes, and just get in there, click on the link, and use the code HSO10, HSO10 that is, and you'll get 10% off, and they will help support the channel. So big thanks to Olight. Really, really welcome those guys for getting on board. And you can also grab the Brass Goblin T-shirts, and there's mugs and some other hoodies and all that sort of stuff like that. And a lot of people getting on board with that. So thanks very much, guys. Maybe in a couple of years, we'll see what happens. But yeah, get out there, have fun, get them big boars. And until next time, I'll catch you later. Don't forget, you can hit the subscribe button, a big circle in the middle at the end, or I think it's, I don't know, one of these corners there's a subscribe button, and hit us up on Patreon. Someone can be my first Patreon, that'd be appreciated. And hit us up in the comments if you've got any questions. If you've got any questions for Tavis, you can always find him on the Reloading podcast. And until next time, guys, I'll catch you later.